You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 709. Chapter 709, Chapter 182 I Have Many Swords. Thanks to the wild little boy once again. 3. Jing Yiming is still injured. Doesn't Principal Zhou want to save him? Zhou Mingren glanced at him once more and ignored him. He turned his head to look at Bai Feng and the others once more. At this moment, Bai Feng was suppressed to the point that he had no way of retaliating. Xia Yuan was too strong. Principal, elder son and the others also looked at Zhou Mingren. They didn't understand what they were waiting for. If they dug up Zhang Ruoling's grave now, the many holy pros faction would definitely not agree. If a huge battle broke out, they could simply capture Lu Wenyan and forget about it. Zhou Mingren frowned slightly. After a moment, he said, "Not everyone is here yet. If Hong Tan doesn't come back and take down Hong Tan, are we going to let Hong Tan cause trouble outside? If you can't kill a snake, you will definitely be harmed. Don't you understand?" Shan Tianhao said hurriedly, "If we take down Lu Wenyan, Hong Tan will definitely come. When that time comes, Hong Tan won't be able to escape. If they had to wait, what if something unexpected happened?" Zhou Mingren fell silent again and ignored him. Shan Tianhao was a little angry. Zhou Mingren suddenly said, "You can try. I can't make a move. If I make a move, if Hong Tan attacks, no one can stop him." "You." Dan Tianhao looked at him coldly and suddenly transmitted his voice, "Zhou Mingren, don't think too much. Do you really think that they can stop us? You will be Dingding and confirm your position as the leader of the civilized masters of the Great Xia Prefecture." He had seen through this guy. Zhou Mingren clearly felt that these people might not be able to take down the many divine inscriptions. He wanted to come to Dingding and achieve his own success. Zhou Mingren didn't say anything. He didn't reply, and he didn't pay any attention either. "Could it be that you have forgotten Principal Zhou's instructions?" Shan Tianhao transmitted his voice once more. This Principal Zhou wasn't Zhou Mingren, but the principal of the Great Zhou Civilization Academy, Zhou Polong. The unrivaled son of the first wife. Zhou Mingren still didn't say anything. This repeated 3 times, and Shan Tianhao was already unable to contain his anger. Did this fellow really think that without him, they wouldn't be able to do anything to Lu Wenyan and the others? On a mountain in the distance, Lord Xiaohou did not stand. Instead, he sat, drinking tea and eating melons. He was just short of getting a servant girl to fan him. As he ate, he smiled and said, "Xia Yuan and Bai Feng have broken through so much dirt. They are rich." Beside him, a tall and refined middle-aged man glanced at him and said with a faint smile, "The money of the Xia family is yours, isn't it?" "That's different." Lord Xiaohou smiled and said, "Xia Yuan can earn money himself, he's not a child anymore. The Xia family subsidizes him with 3,000 merit points a year. Look, he has already shattered hundreds of cubic meters of soil, hundreds of thousands of merit points. He can't afford it. It's fine, as long as his grandfather can afford it. Evergreen has been a deputy prefect for so many years. He's not afraid of money." Xiaoyi laughed and said, "Old Ji, sit down and chat. Aren't you tired of standing? Why are you learning from old Hu?" Director Ji ignored him and did not want to talk to him. However, Xiaoyi could not endure the loneliness and said, "Old Ji, who do you think will win? Zhou Mingren and Hong Tan?" "No, I'm talking about these two." He pointed at Bai Feng who was still running away. At this moment, Bai Feng's white clothes had already turned into blood clothes and he could not fight back. He could only flee and barely survive. However, the more he fought, the weaker he became. If this continued, he would be killed by Xia Yuan within a minute at most. Director Ji frowned slightly, and his eyes gradually brightened as if he was watching something. After a long while, he said with a faint smile, Bai Feng is dead, and Xia Yuan is injured. You are looking at the future. Lord Xiaohou suddenly laughed. This thing is not accurate. Even if you are the sun and moon, you might not be able to see it accurately. Forget about the sun and moon, even if you are invincible, you can only predict it. Through all sorts of information analysis, you can obtain a possible future, not an accurate future. Director Ji turned his head to look at him and said with a faint smile, Then what do you think? What do I think? Lord Xiaohou chuckled and said, How about this, how about we make a bet? Wager. Wager. Your daughter. N. Director Ji's gaze instantly turned unkind. What? What do you think of our tiger? Lord Xiaohou laughed and said, Honest, down to earth, willing to do it. Ugly. Director Ji only said this one sentence. Too ugly, not worthy of my daughter. Xiaohou Ye's expression was unfriendly. Everyone says that my tiger is more like me. That's why it's ugly. You. Xiaohou Ye was furious and said angrily, Fine, if you don't want to do it, then so be it. You still don't like your daughter. A mere newly advanced sun and moon, forming a marriage alliance with my Xia family, that's your fortune. Still pretending to be a kid, if you don't want to do it, then so be it. Director Ji said indifferently, Is the sun and moon very weak? Moreover, my Ji's daughter doesn't accept second-hand goods. Master Xiaohou had a depressed look on his face. On the other side, Elder Hu stifled his laughter. Second-hand goods. It could be considered as such. When Xia Huyo was young, he had a marriage alliance partner, a direct descendant of the Lu family. Unfortunately, the Lu family had completely fallen. The direct descendant of Xia Huyo's marriage alliance had just been born not long ago and had died together with her parents in the heavenly battlefield. That year, the marriage was set during pregnancy. It was half joking and half true. Director Ji's words were just deliberately to anger Master Xiaohou. Master Xiaohou was furious and quickly said, I bet that this kid Bai Feng must have a trump card. Only one of his 2 dragon-slaying swords has appeared. Where's the other one? Director Ji raised his eyebrows slightly and said softly, Where did he get 2? Where did he get that one? Maybe he drew 2 swords directly back then, and this kid hid them. Lord Xiaohou guessed irresponsibly. Director Ji said calmly, I'm thinking, did he dismantle his dragon-slaying sword? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 710. Chapter 710, Chapter 182 I have a lot of swords. Thanks to the wild little boy once again Silver, 4. It can't be that serious, right? Lord Xiaohou said uncertainly, a battle technique with multiple divine runes, it can't be disassembled, right? This possibility cannot be ruled out. This kid spends all day in the research room, who knows what he's up to? Why don't you intervene later and protect him? Director Ji smiled faintly and ignored him. On the other side, Elder Hu also smiled lightly. Lord Marquis, you have a bad habit of watching others serve food. Last time, you didn't care who was killed. Lord Marquis Xia said indifferently, this is how business is. Watching others serve food. See if he's worth intervening. If he's not, then you guys can go ahead and fight. The few of them ignored him. If you want to intervene, then go and intervene yourself. The experts from all directions watched silently. And in the battle zone, Bai Feng's white clothes were stained with blood. He was at his wits' end. Bai Feng was not good at long battles. This was something that many people knew. At this moment, he had dragged on for so long. The more he fought, the weaker he became. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was done for. If he continued to drag on, he would not be able to make his final strike. Xia Yuan was unhurried. Step by step, he reduced his escape space. He had to guard against his final strike. 2 swords. Up until now, Bai Feng had only made 1 strike. There was still 1 strike left. Saber chi filled the air, and the space in which Bai Feng could escape became smaller and smaller. Xia Yuan was taking every step he took. He was very strong and very arrogant, but when he fought, he had his own rules. He was neither flustered nor flustered. He was not in a hurry. When dealing with people like Bai Feng, he had to be steady. Otherwise, he could capsize at any time. Bai Feng, do you still want to struggle? Let me see your second dragon-slaying sword. As you wish. Bai Feng chuckled, growled, and slashed out with his sword. At the same time, another sword fell from the sky. 1 strong and 1 weak. This one is too weak. Xia Yuan laughed lightly and reached out his hand to grab the weak sword. At the same time, he held the saber in his right hand and slashed at the sword that was flying in front of him. That was the main sword. With a loud bang, the main sword flew out. The secondary sword was held in Xia Yuan's hand. Xia Yuan briefly inspected it and frowned slightly. His willpower burst out and shook the secondary sword. It was a little strange. Where did so many dragon-slaying swords come from? Was this his divine literature battle technique? Or was it just another battle technique? Just as he was thinking, Bai Feng suddenly swallowed a drop of blood essence. With a roar, his body grew stronger and he pounced towards him. Innate blood essence. Too weak. Xia Yuan responded indifferently. His sub-sword lost its luster and lost its luster. He casually threw it away and charged toward Bai Feng, who was crazily pouncing toward him with his saber. Puchi. Numerous cuts covered Bai Feng's body once again. His white clothes were already broken, revealing his body and revealing his savage wounds. Do you still want to struggle? Struggle your ass. As soon as he finished speaking, the 2 long swords in the distance suddenly merged into one and charged towards his back once again. Xia Yuan could feel the power of the sword behind him, but he was a little puzzled. It wasn't as powerful as he had imagined. It wasn't weak. Perhaps it could kill those weak Ling Yun, but to him, it was too weak. Even if he was still in the air, this sword couldn't kill him. The long saber in his hand flew out and appeared directly behind him. With a boom, it tangled with the long sword and started to fight. Xia Yuan was still extremely powerful with his bare hands. In the blink of an eye, he struck Bai Feng continuously, causing him to bleed profusely. The effect of his blood essence couldn't shake Xia Yuan at all. However, Bai Feng didn't care. He swallowed a few more drops of blood essence and roared as he charged towards him. At this moment, a heaven-shaking killing intent emerged from his body. In the next moment, another dragon-slaying sword appeared. Powerful. It was even more powerful than the sword that had merged into one. In all directions, some of the experts were stunned. There was still a third sword. What was going on? Xia Yuan heaved a sigh of relief instead. That was right. He knew that Bai Feng was not that easy to kill. He definitely had another trump card. As expected. This sword attack was very powerful. After killing Zhang Yu, everything that had happened before would become logical. Split open the sky. Xia Yuan wasn't careless and roared. 9 light spots appeared on his body. The 9 apertures after closing the aperture. These 9 light spots were extremely powerful. At this moment, Xia Yuan's body faintly emitted an ancient aura. The chi of gods and devils was formed from the blood essence of gods and devils. Using his hand as a blade, Xia Yuan roared and slashed down with his hand blade. This blade was filled with killing intent that shook the heavens. Bai Feng gritted his teeth and roared. He leaped into the air and grabbed the third dragon-slaying sword. Yuan Qi and willpower surged in as he roared, shattering Yuan. Third move of heaven destruction. This sword was incomparably brilliant. Killing intent surged into the heavens as divine runes erupted. The sword and saber collided in an instant. There was no sound. Only a beam of light swept out in all directions. The two of them were fixed in mid-air as the swords and sabers clashed. Xia Yuan used his hand as a saber. At this moment, his right hand was extremely brilliant. His entire body was golden and extremely tough. Gotcha. A crisp sound rang out as the sword in Bai Feng's hand started to shatter. A crack also appeared on Xia Yuan's hand. Blood dripped down. Xia Yuan chuckled. You're very strong. It's enough for you to kill Ling Yun. Bai Feng, you're very strong, but unfortunately, I'm stronger. It was only a light injury. Bai Feng's strongest attack didn't injure him seriously. Meanwhile, Bai Feng's eyes were filled with disbelief, anger, and unwillingness. Why? So strong. Go to hell. Xia Yuan said softly as his left hand turned into a blade and slashed towards Bai Feng's head. I refuse to accept this. A roar filled with grief and indignation resounded in all directions. Wu Yuehua and the others were all prepared to attack. On the other side, Dan Tianhao and the others released their auras to suppress them, as if they were about to start a battle. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 711. Chapter 711, Chapter 182 I have many swords. Thanks to the wild little boy boss once again. 5. I, Bai Feng, am extremely talented. I refuse to accept this, I refuse to accept this. Bai Feng roared in despair. The long sword in his hand was already shattering inch by inch. Xia Yuan sighed softly. Without saying anything else, his left hand had already cleaved down at his head. You can die now. I refuse to accept this. Bai Feng roared maniacally as his willpower burst forth. His Yuan Qi burst forth as he struggled, preparing for his final counterattack. At that moment, Zhou Mingren's eyes moved at the periphery. He opened his eyes and instantly looked towards a certain spot in the void. At that moment, one expert after another realized that something was amiss. At that moment, the two-in-one dragon-slaying sword that was still entangled with Xia Yuan's saber previously had a weakened aura. But at that moment, it burst forth with an incomparably resplendent radiance. A ray of light lit up the world. The long sword was burning. Whing! A loud sound that could break the heavens and earth rang out. With a bang, Xia Yuan's saber was instantly shattered. Shattered. Xia Yuan, who was about to kill Bai Feng, had a change in expression. His willpower surged, and one of the divine runes was shattered. He couldn't care less about looking back. With an explosive roar, he put his hands together and transformed into a golden color. He put his hands together and slashed towards Bai Feng. I underestimated you. Xia Yuan roared. I underestimated you too much. Bai Feng suddenly laughed out loud. Behind Xia Yuan, a long sword tore through the air. The divine runes were burning. At that moment, countless Yuan Qi gathered behind Xia Yuan. He did not turn back as he wanted to kill Bai Feng. Even if he was injured, he wanted to kill Bai Feng. Idiot! At that moment, at the instant Xia Yuan's Yuan Qi gathered, another long sword suddenly appeared in Bai Feng's hand. Dragon-slaying sword. The fourth sword. Different from before, this sword was dull at this moment. However, at the next moment, a total of 18 brilliant points of light burst out from the sword. 18 divine runes were burning. I'll send you to the heavens. A stern shout resounded in all directions. Slash! A sword slashed out. The first sword, second sword, third sword. They were all fake. They weren't fake either. Each sword contained 2 divine runes, a total of 6 divine runes. In order to disguise themselves as the powerful dragon-slaying sword, all the divine runes were burned. Bai Feng had drawn a total of 28 divine runes. Among them, 12 were basic divine runes, and 16 were later drawn divine runes. At this moment, including the sword in his hand, he had already shattered a total of 24 divine runes, leaving behind only 4 divine runes. They floated alone in his sea of consciousness, forming a small sword. That was the dragon-slaying sword he had prepared to leave behind. The divine runes burned as his sea of consciousness shook. His divine aperture collapsed and sealed. The word / resounded throughout the world. Wine. Fast, too fast. With a poochie sound, Xia Yuan's golden hands, which were like vajra, were instantly severed by the sword. Before fresh blood could flow out, it was instantly vaporized. Xia Yuan's expression changed drastically as he roared maniacally. The 9 apertures in his body suddenly exploded with a boom. An extremely powerful yuan qi burst out. In the air, a huge long saber appeared and clashed with Bai Feng's burning long sword. The saber and sword clashed once again. It was silent. In the next moment, an extremely powerful force exploded from the center. A light ring spread out and flattened all obstructions in all directions. A small mountain was instantly sliced into 2. In the distance, the expressions of the Ling Yun realm experts changed drastically. Just as they were about to escape, a light ring streaked past. With a bang, a Ling Yun realm expert's chest exploded, and his body was cut in half. Suppress. A clear shout rang out, and the light ring that spread out was instantly suppressed. Zhou Mingren frowned and suppressed the energy that spread out. He grabbed towards the Ling Yun who was cut in half with his bare hands, and a white light emerged from his hands, forcefully pinching the body of the other party that had exploded. A moment later, Ling Yun was still in a state of shock. His face was pale as he looked at the center and then at his injuries. He wanted to cry but had no tears. His physical body had been shattered. It was just the aftermath. He had almost died. Even if he didn't die, he wouldn't be able to recover until half a year or even a year later. All the powerhouses from all directions were looking in that direction. In the air, Bai Feng was grinning. The long sword in his hand was completely shattered, shattering inch by inch. His sea of will was severely injured, his divine aperture was sealed, the divine runes were shattered, and his body was constantly exploding, blood splattering everywhere. And in front of him, Xia Yuan's arms had been severed. Just like his disciple, both of his arms had been severed. That was not important. What was important was that at that moment, his 9 orifices had exploded, and his yuan qi was depleted. Only then did he manage to block that sword. With a bang, his glabella exploded. Blood gushed out. Xia Yuan did not make a sound. He looked at Bai Feng in a daze. Their gazes met and they fell from the sky at the same time. Bang! Bang! The 2 of them crashed to the ground at the same time. Xia Yuan seemed to have been sliced open. A crack spread from his glabella. From his glabella to the tip of his nose, to his lips, to his chest, it spread all the way down. Xia Yuan looked at the sky. He wasn't dead, but his mind was blank. He didn't understand why. There was a 4th sword. What had Bai Feng done? As for Bai Feng, his sea of consciousness was about to turn into paste, and even the main divine script was shattered. At this moment, large mouthfuls of blood flowed out of his mouth, and the ground was instantly dyed red. Martial uncle, save me. He felt that he could still save him, but why did he fall to the ground and no one save him? Martial uncle, was really King conniving. At this moment, the experts in all directions were jolted awake. They were still dazed, still somewhat in disbelief. Bai Feng broke his own divine text battle technique, and burned his main core divine text. This, not dead or completely disabled ah. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 712. Chapter 712, Chapter 182 I have a lot of swords. Thanks to the wild little boy and big brother, Silver again, 6-inch. Is there any meaning in living like this? Maybe there is. Zheng Yiming is about the same as him, but Zheng Yiming still has a lot of divine runes that haven't been broken. What about Bai Feng? How many more does Bai Feng have? Can his sea of consciousness withstand such a backlash? Xia Yuan actually didn't win. At this moment, Wuxia, who was outside, was also shocked. Xia Yuan, who was at the third level of Ling Yun, was almost cut in half by Bai Feng's sword. He had defended against the first sword, and the second sword, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't defend against the last sword. Xia Yuan, who had his 9 apertures shattered, and his literary weapon shattered as well. Could such an injury be healed? At this moment, Marquis Xia and the others also had strange expressions on their faces. Director Ji muttered, 4 dragon-slaying swords. Don't tell me that he already drew 4 of them. He split the dragon-slaying swords, 4 times. How did Bai Feng do it? In the next moment, he suddenly reached out and grabbed towards that direction. At the same time, Shan Tianhao and the others made their moves and grabbed towards Bai Feng. Rules? They couldn't care less. They were too interested in how Bai Feng split up the dragon-slaying sword. He's useless. Give me some face. Director Ji said calmly. In the blink of an eye, a golden seal smashed towards Shan Tianhao and the others. The seal grew bigger and bigger. At the same time, a bright moon rose in the sky. The bright moon rose and fell in an instant. The bright moon fell and blotted out the sky as it smashed towards Zhou Mingren. Zhou Mingren frowned and took a few steps back. With a loud bang, Shan Tianhao and the others were sent flying by the huge seal. Director Ji grabbed Bai Feng and retracted his huge palm. Bai Feng landed in front of him. His eyes were a little dazed and blood was oozing out of his mouth. He said inaudibly, F***ck, be gentle. Director Ji smiled and did not speak again. On the other side, Zhou Mingren stepped back and looked at Master Xia Ho and the others. He said calmly, if you guys want to interfere, you should have said so earlier. Why wait until now? If the Xia family does not allow it, this battle will not erupt. Master Xia Ho shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. If old Ji wants to make a move, go find him. Zhou Mingren did not speak. Shan Tianhao said angrily, you guys drew out the battle zone yourselves. Are you going to go back on your words now? Old Ji did it. Master Xia Ho repeated again. He thought for a moment and said, find the money and do not make a move again. If you make a move again, I will punish you to go to the heavenly battlefield to kill a sun and moon. What do you think? Hand over Bai Feng. Shan Tianhao was furious. Director Ji ignored him, grabbed Bai Feng, and turned around to leave. Hand over what? He was curious now. How did he do it? How did he dismantle 4 dragon-slaying swords? It was too magical. Ji. Before Shan Tianhao could finish his roar, Director Ji suddenly turned his head. His figure moved with incomparable speed and appeared in front of him in an instant. A bright moon appeared in his hand, and with one hand, he hacked out the sun and moon radiance. Bang! His body exploded. Another strike struck out. With a bang, blood flew everywhere, and his bones exploded. Director Ji looked at him coldly as he forcefully recovered his flesh and blood. He said calmly, "Is such an explanation enough? If it's not enough, get Zhou Polong to come find me. Silence. Director Ji looked around calmly. You guys fight your own battles, and I want mine. If I want to protect him, then I can protect him. A mere mountain and sea is in the Great Xia Manor, and you want to stop me, Ji Hong? He turned his head to look at Zhou Mingren and said calmly, Director Zhou, if you are not satisfied, you can try. Zhou Mingren did not say anything. If I, Ji Hong, were to escape, who would dare to compete with me? Director Ji looked around and said calmly, is there anyone else who wants to say no? Silence. Then I'll take my leave. Director Ji smiled, picked up Bai Feng, and left. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 713. Chapter 713, Chapter 183 returned one after another one. Director Ji stepped into the air and took Bai Feng away. On the ground, Lu Wenyan revealed a smile. In the next moment, he cursed in a low voice. Bai Feng, this brat, previously said that he would help me deal with the suppression of the divine text, but he hadn't completed it yet. It was over. Of course, Bai Feng had said the method, but now, the only one who could do it was Hong Tan. Had he really lost his junior brother? On the ground, Xia Yuan lay on the ground. He did not care about anything and kept looking at the sky. His eyes had lost their luster and were no longer domineering. On the other side, Lord Xiaohe waved his hand, carry him away. Send him back to the city lord's manor and let Xia Chongqing save him. Only by enduring defeat can one grow. Who cannot be defeated? A team of dragon martial guards entered the arena and quickly carried Xia Yuan away. Lord Xia smiled, 5 generations have lost, my old man has lost, Xia Longwu has lost. The great Zhou King has lost, the great Qin King has lost. If you can stand up, then there is still hope. If you cannot stand up, the Xia family will take care of you until you die. It was that cruel, that simple. If you can stand up, then you are still a genius of the Xia family. If you cannot stand up, then you can take care of yourself until you die. Geniuses are everywhere. At this moment, Shan Tianhao forcefully gathered his physical body. His face was pale, but he was still unwilling to accept this. He wasn't stupid. But he really wanted to capture Bai Feng. It wasn't just him. Everyone wanted to capture Bai Feng. Why could he split up so many dragon-slaying swords? Was this Bai Feng's ability alone, or could it be done by the polytheistic faction? Would this ability have a huge impact? What had the multi-divine pros faction managed to achieve? It was too important. The multi-divine pros faction had unparalleled combat strength to begin with, and now they could even split up their own divine pros combat techniques. What kind of repercussions would this have? He wanted to capture Bai Feng. Shan Tianhao looked at Director Ji, who had flown away, and then turned to look at Zhou Mingren. He shouted telepathically, Zhou Mingren. Are you just going to watch as Bai Feng is taken away? Bai Feng's value had skyrocketed at this moment. How did he split the dragon-slaying sword? Vaguely. They even had a terrifying thought. To be able to split the dragon-slaying sword meant that the divine literature battle technique had been torn apart. Could the foundational divine literature be torn apart? If it was possible. Shan Tianhao didn't dare to imagine what kind of drastic change would happen next. The multiple divine runes were invincible. They were the strongest among those of the same level. Everyone wasn't convinced by the multiple divine runes because they had spent a lot of resources. It was because it was too difficult for them to fly in the air. The requirements were too high. They had to draw more than 10 divine runes in the air. But what if they didn't need to fly in the air? Was it possible? They didn't know. They didn't dare to think about it. It could only be said that there was a possibility. As for whether it was true or not, no one had any evidence at the moment. They would only know a thing or two if they captured by phone. Zhou Mingren frowned slightly and remained silent. Today, he seemed to have been silent the entire time. Even if Director Ji spoke, he would only give in. Zhou Mingren. The 5th generation divine runes are more important. Zhou Mingren spoke, let's talk about Baifeng's side later. Do you want to offend Ji Hong over a Baifeng? Shan Tianhao was still furious. He suddenly looked at Lord Xiaoho and hid his anger. He said in a low voice, Master Xiaoho, the Xia family said to open up a war zone and allow us to fight. We agreed to all of Master Xiaoho's conditions. We will do as Master Xiaoho says. But now, the director of the Department of Strengthening Education is interfering. Is this in accordance with the Xia family's rules? He had to say it. Otherwise, if the Xia family continued to interfere, then they might as well stop fighting. It was meaningless. Master Xiaoho shrugged. The Xia family didn't interfere, don't misunderstand. Just treat Ji Hong as their external aid, didn't you invite Xia Yuan? Look, the Xia family almost got hacked to death when they went in, and I didn't say anything. Master Xiaoho laughed. If I said anything, it would be like spitting on a nail. In the war zone, I don't care who I beat to death. If you have the ability, I won't care even if you beat Ji Hong to death. Shan Tianhao, your strength is inferior to his, so I have no choice. You can look for Zhou Polong to settle the score with him. Tell me, what can I do? Lord Xiaoho felt that he had been wronged. Look, Xia Yuan is injured to such an extent. Did I say anything? In the war zone, you guys can fight as you wish. Just now, he attacked you. Did he enter the war zone? My Xia family still obeys the rules, right? Stop slandering me. If you continue slandering me, I'm still the acting manor head. You're just a mountain and sea lord of the great Zhou Manor, slandering me again and again. Shan Tianhao, think carefully before you speak. Shan Tianhao's expression changed, and he cursed angrily in his heart. Ji Hong interfering, and this was still within the rules. What kind of external assistance was this? On the other side, Zhou Mingren frowned slightly, and slowly said, Marquis, there won't be any more external assistance, right? This. Don't ask me. Marquis Xia smiled and said, I don't care about this. You guys can pull in as many people as you want. Whoever enters the battle zone, you can kill them as you wish. I'll just take the money. It's best if you can pull in all the disobedient members of the Great Xia Manor. It just so happens that one of them dies and one of them dies. This will prevent the group of people from causing trouble every day. If I say a word, even if you guys pull in the members of the Myriad Clan sect, I won't interfere. I'm a man of my word. Of course, if they come, I'll have to wipe them out once we leave the battlefield. No one said a word. Nonsense. Even if they could be brought here, the members of the Myriad Clan cult weren't idiots. Were they here to court death? Whoever was the fool would do it. Zhou Mingren, why aren't you going to arrest Lu Wenyan? Knowing that he couldn't find trouble with Ji Hong, Dan Tianhao shouted telepathically again, how long are you going to wait? If you don't take action now, who will be responsible if something unexpected happens? If Ji Hong can interfere, the others can. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 714. Chapter 714, Chapter 183 is coming back one after another too. Something has already happened. He did not understand what Zhou Mingren was waiting for. Hong Tan. Hong Tan was rushing over right now. Did he have to wait for him to arrive before he could deal with Lu Wenyan and the others? Was Zhou Mingren sick? Zhou Mingren glanced at him and said telepathically, if you want to make a move, then make a move. I want to wait for Hong Tan to return. You. Dan Tianhao, don't come and order me anymore. Zhou Mingren's eyes suddenly turned cold. You don't have the qualifications, do you understand? Dan Tianhao frowned and cursed in his heart. What exactly was Zhou Mingren waiting for? Although he was a little angry, at this moment, he didn't have time to think. He shouted, capture Lu Wenyan and hand over the inheritance divine script. After saying this, Dan Tianhao looked at the few mountain and sea realm cultivators. They all nodded at the same time and instantly charged toward the battle zone. Capture Lu Wenyan. If they waited any longer, something would really happen. If they didn't get their hands on the 5th generation divine runes, no one would be satisfied. As for Zhou Mingren, no one knew what he was thinking. Beside Zhou Mingren, the few mountain sea realm pavilion elders looked at him. Pavilion elder Sun transmitted his voice, Old Zhou, what are you doing? Zhou Mingren frowned slightly and said, you can go. If you don't want to cause trouble, just capture Lu Wenyan. You don't have to fight to the death with Wu Yuehua and the others. You. They felt a bit aggrieved. You said you wanted to dig the grave, but now, at the critical moment, you actually didn't do anything. What the hell? Although they were angry and helpless, they looked at each other and quickly joined the battle. At this moment, a group of people gradually joined the battle. Many mountains and seas from the Divine Wen faction attacked. Beside Lu Wenyan, He Qi, Wu Yuehua, Pavilion Master Fan. There were also many mountains and seas attacking back. Lord Xiahou glanced at Zhou Mingren, raised his eyebrows slightly, and smiled without saying anything. On the other side, Elder Hu also smiled with a profound meaning. At this moment, Zhou Mingren, who had been silent all this time, suddenly took a deep breath. 2 long gas dragons even appeared in front of him, which were extremely eye-catching under the night sky. Master Xiahou, Elder Hu, and the others all looked into the distance. In the distance, a person was panting from exhaustion. As he walked over, he smiled and said, you're not late, are you? Hong Tan. Beside the broken hut, Lu Wenyan saw Hong Tan and suddenly cursed, you trash, you only came now. I thought you were lost. Hong Tan, who was an old man, couldn't help but laugh at this moment and said, Senior brother, it's been so many years. Can you still give me some face with this temper of yours? As he spoke, he glanced at Zhou Mingren. His old face gradually returned to its youthful look. He straightened his back, flung his robe, and smiled. Elder Zhou, are you waiting for me? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Zhou Mingren said calmly, if it weren't for the fact that Shan Tianhao kept talking nonsense with me, I would have killed him long ago. The 9th layer of the mountain and sea realm isn't that impressive. Hong Tan, I've actually been waiting for you for many years. Hong Tan walked over step by step. With each step, he became younger. Gradually, his thin and weak body became stronger. He smiled and said, Elder Zhou, what's the point? If you really want to spar, I'll accompany you. If you can't, then go to the heavenly battlefield and force me to fight. Aren't you just looking for trouble? Zhou Mingren's aura also gradually grew stronger. He said in a deep voice, there are some things that you have to vent out after holding back for so long. The fight between the one and the many has been going on for a long time, but to me, it's just like that. Zhou Mingren's words caused the surrounding experts who were participating in the battle to gradually stop. They all looked towards them. The expressions of Elder Sun and the others fluctuated. What did he mean? Zhou Mingren still said calmly, I wanted to destroy the many divine languages, but, it's meaningless to get rid of a crippled Lu Wenyan. Others say that you, Hong Tan, are focused on your research and that your strength is only average among the many divine languages, but I don't think so. Zhou Mingren walked toward Hong Tan. With every step he took, his aura grew stronger. I still want to see if you can reach the sun and moon. I also want to see if you can let me reach the sun and moon. His aura grew stronger. He had surpassed the peak of the mountain and sea realm, but he was not as strong as Director Ji from before. Zhou Mingren took a step forward, and Hong Tan also took a step forward. His aura grew stronger and stronger. On the other side, Dan Tianhao cursed in his heart. He finally understood. Zhou Mingren had been waiting for Hong Tan all this while because he wanted to use his full strength to fight against Hong Tan and help him cross the threshold of the sun and moon. Zhou Mingren had not stepped into the sun and moon. He was only one step away. This step, he chose to fight against Hong Tan. He felt that Hong Tan could help him take this step. Mountains and seas are collapsing, how can it be as satisfying as plucking the stars and taking the moon? As Zhou Mingren walked, his aura was extremely powerful, and the mountains and rivers appeared illusory. As he walked, he said, Wu Yuehua can't do it, He Chi can't do it, and Dan Tianhao can't do it either. I've reached the human realm, and there are quite a few peak mountains and seas, but you, Hong Tan, are the most suitable. Hong Tan smiled and said, Elder Zhou, you and my teacher are of the same generation. You've always been against me, and I can't be bothered to care about it. There's no need to even break the sun and moon to look for me, right? Where did all this enmity come from? I already said that there are many mountain and sea peaks on the battlefield of the heavens. Why do you need to look for me? Because I'm a member of the Zhou family. Zhou Mingren replied. Because I still have connections, and also karma, so I can only look for you. Hong Tan was helpless. He smiled and said, Fine, since Elder Zhou wants to use me as a whetstone, I'll play with him. The sun and moon won't be so easy to achieve. With that, his aura grew even stronger. Gradually, the 8th level of the mountain and sea realm, the peak of the 8th level, exploded with a boom. In fact, it was the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 7:15. Chapter 7:15, Chapter 183 returned one after another requests for 3. 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. Many people exclaimed in low voices. When did this guy break through? Zhou Mingren's eyes were bright. This was what he had been waiting for. Hong Tan wasn't weak. Others might not know, but didn't he know? Not enough. Then be stronger and let Elder Zhou be satisfied. Hong Tan smiled, and his aura grew stronger and stronger. A moment later, his aura changed again. The peak of the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm, which was also the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Is it enough? Hong Tan smiled and said, If it's not enough, then there's nothing we can do. How about this, it's more or less enough, right? After all, I'm still a little stronger than the two of you. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 afterimages disappeared from the spot. With a rumbling sound, heaven and earth shook. Capture Lu Wenyan. Zhou Mingren's shout rang out. In the air, the two of them exchanged blows. The others could no longer see anything. They were extremely fast. Shan Tianhao could no longer be bothered to curse and shouted, Kill. The group of mountains and seas were also shocked. However, they knew that it was not something they could participate in. They all charged towards Lu Wenyan to capture him. The battle instantly erupted. At the same time, on Lord Xia's side, 2 figures walked over. Su Yu was hugging Xia Huyo. Yes, hugging. It wasn't considered hugging, but hugging his shoulders and sticking to Xia Huyo's body. Xia Huyo's face was filled with grievance and depression. He shook his shoulders, but Su Yu didn't care. He continued to hug him tightly, almost sticking to him. Even his head was stuck to him. Those who didn't know saw it and thought that they were a couple. The auction was supposed to start tomorrow morning. However, Su Yu could not wait any longer. When Bai Feng called, Suyu knew that he would be in trouble. Then he could not wait. He was afraid of death. Especially now. It felt too unsafe outside. He did not want to leave the academy, not at all. But he had to come out. So, he came. At this moment, he was hugging Xia Huyo tightly. This was his protective talisman, his protective shield, and his life-saving straw. He was afraid of death and didn't dare to run around. But, the Xia family wasn't afraid. Xia Huyo, if his guess wasn't wrong, whoever dared to kill Xia Huyo would have their 18 generations of ancestors killed. So, Suyu called him to come along. Arm around his shoulder, hugging his shoulder tightly. No, it was his neck. The two of us were close and intimate. At this moment, Suyu also saw the scene of the big battle. He also saw Lu Wenyan, who was still smiling in the crowd. He did not see Bai Feng. He was a little worried. He could not care too much. This was not something he could participate in. He could not afford to participate. Suyu was still a little worried as he hugged Xia Huyo. A strong person killed people. Even if he hugged him, it was not too safe. He wished that he could become a belt and hang around this guy. Once again, he got close to Xia Huyo. Xia Huyo's oily face was almost pressed to his lips. Xia Huyo had a helpless look on his face. Alright, we're here. Suyu, can you let go of me now? Don't, good brother. Brothers should be this close. Suyu smiled and said, it's best if you don't differentiate between us. It's too unsafe here. I'm afraid that something might happen to you. If you don't hug me, nothing will happen to me. Xia Huyo cursed in his heart. He was secretly suspicious. Do you know who I am? You have to bring me along even when you go out. How afraid of death are you? Suyu ignored him and looked around. He saw a somewhat familiar face. It was not really familiar, but he saw a shadow. Zheng Yunhui's shadow. Is that Mannerhead Zheng? Yes. Go over there. Not going to Lord Xia. No. Suyu refused to come into contact with the fatty not far away. That was a profiteer who ate people without spitting out their bones. Everyone in the Great Xia Manor had a change of expression when they talked about him. If he did not go, if he wanted to look for him, he would look for a fool. It was too tiring to do business with smart people. The great battle broke out. Zheng Ping was still watching the show when he suddenly felt someone walking over beside him. He turned his head to look and recognized Xia Huyo. As for who Xia Huyo was carrying. Oh, he was mistaken. He was not carrying him. He was only carrying him. Who was that? They were so close. How did this kid from the Xia family have such a good relationship with a man? Grandpa Zheng. Zheng Ping was stunned when he heard the name Grandpa Zheng. Do I know you? This was not called by Xia Huyo, but by the person beside Xia Huyo. Who is it? Are we close? Suyu's mouth was very sweet. Grandpa Zheng, my name is Suyu. I'm Yun Hui's good brother. Last time, I swindled tens of thousands of merit points with him. Did Yun Hui tell you? It's you. This time, Zheng Ping knew who the other party was. He was a little surprised, but he quickly thought of something. You came here to sell things. Suyu said sweetly, Grandpa Zheng, did you receive the news? As he said that, Suyu's 36-souled devouring aperture acupoints burst out and connected into one. A layer of black flame instantly appeared on his willpower. This can not only be attached to willpower, it can also be attached directly to the hands and feet. After saying this, Suyu's palm suddenly turned black. He struck out toward Jingping. Grandpa Zheng, please feel it. At the peak of the mountain and sea realm, even a warrior's willpower would not be too weak. Zheng Ping did not care. The key was, why did you King hit me? Why are you still pulling that little fatty? Didn't you see that the little fatty was about to be strangled to death by you? Not far away, Lord Xia Ho did not look and turned his head away. Manager Hu also shook his head. This was the youth from the multi-god literature department. This was to save his life. Did he know Xia Huyo's identity? How much did you not trust outsiders? You even had to bring Xia Huyo along to sell something. You wished you could tie Xia Huyo to your waist. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 716. Chapter 716, Chapter 183 came back one after another for. Bang! With a muffled sound, Zheng Ping did not make a move or retaliate. His willpower protected his body, and he instantly felt a slight pain from being pricked by needles. A weak black flame was burning on his willpower. Zheng Ping did not pay too much attention to it. It was slightly painful, but this was not simple. What a joke! I am the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Even if he was not a civilized master, his willpower was very strong. An ordinary Lingyun realm civilized master might not be able to compare to him. There was actually a slight pain. If this hit someone of the same level, what would happen? Soul-devouring art. As he spoke, his eyes lit up. He looked at Su Yu, and a divine light burst out from his eyes. Suddenly, he probed toward Su Yu. Su Yu instantly sealed all his acupoints and said with a smile, Grandpa Zheng, cultivation techniques don't just depend on which acupoint you open. If it's that simple, then even a heaven-rank cultivation technique can't be used. Won't it spread once you use it? Zheng Ping's interest was piqued and he said with a smile, I heard that you don't sell it for money. Yes. Su Yu pointed at the battlefield over there. My bid isn't high. Killing a mountain and sea is Grandpa Zheng's. Zheng Ping couldn't help but laugh. Killing a mountain and sea. That's easy for you to say. Even if it's a first-level mountain and sea realm, it's not that easy to kill. Moreover, these people are grouped together and have backers. How can I kill them so easily? The soul-devouring art isn't worth this price. Su Yu nodded and pulled Xia Huyo along with him as they bowed slightly. Without saying anything, they continued to pull Xia Huyo toward another person. Xia Huyo had a depressed look on his face. Zheng Ping raised his eyebrows and said, You're not selling anymore. I'm selling. Su Yu turned his head and smiled, Grandpa Zheng, I'm not selling anymore to you to avoid making things difficult for you. Yun Hui is my brother, I can't make things difficult for his grandpa. I'll go and ask General Zhao. I feel that the army needs this. Not far away, General Zhao raised his eyebrows slightly, he said directly, that's a person from the Divine Arts Department. Killing one of them will cause a lot of trouble. Although I'm not afraid, the army still needs civilized masters. Killing them will easily cause civilized masters to collectively boycott my dragon martial guards. Su Yu nodded slightly and didn't say anything else. He walked toward another person. On the other side, the head of the Dragon Martial Academy said softly, the Dragon Martial Academy is the reserve force of the Dragon Martial Guards. General Zhao doesn't want to take it, so I can't take it. Not far away, Manager Hu said, little classmate, a soul-devouring art in exchange for mountains and seas to deal with mountains and seas, and a systematic civilized master. It's difficult, too difficult. Then, he added, besides, it's not just about benefits. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a war zone. The debt left behind by the fifth generation needs to be repaid by your department. This is the route. Su Yu said softly, I understand. Thank you for your advice, Grandpa Hu. But I still don't understand. That invincible man from the Great Zhou Manor didn't die at the hands of my great-grandmaster. Why do you want our department to bear all of this? We need information, but we don't have it. Could it be that Great Grandmaster wants to use the divine language to repay us? Manager Hu shook his head and didn't speak again. There were some things that couldn't be done with just one sentence. Su Yu looked around. The battle was still going on, and more people were participating. There was even Ling Yun who started to participate. Under the situation where the mountains and seas were entangled, he approached Lu Wenyan. Lu Wenyan was also looking at him. He had long seen Su Yu. He smiled and his lips moved. Go back. This was not Su Yu's battlefield. This was not a battlefield that Su Yu could get involved in. Saving a teacher. Su Yu was still too weak and did not have the qualifications. Su Yu suddenly felt a little desolate and sorrowful. Why? Did the great Xia Manor not care? He looked at Marquis Xia over there. Within the great Xia Manor, it was not the religion of 10,000 races, but a group of civilized masters surrounding and killing another group of civilized masters. Did the great Xia Manor not care? He was suddenly very disappointed. Very disappointed, very disappointed. Why? He saw Wu Yuehua bleeding. He saw the experts protecting Lu Laoshi being besieged and their bodies exploding. There were fewer mountains and seas. In the darkness, the number of experts participating in the battle increased silently. No one registered, no one said who they were. They silently participated in the battle and silently defended. Not far away, someone stepped into the air with a smile. Cupping his hands toward Lu Wenyan, he joined the battle group with a smile. Someone gave Lu Wenyan a thumbs up. There was only passion in his eyes, but there was no unwillingness. He also instantly joined the battle group. Su Yu knew that those were experts who had come to assist him. There were people who had been waiting for Lu Laoshi's return. Su Yu watched on. He knew that the soul-devouring art couldn't be sold anymore. These people were unwilling to get involved. The so-called fighters without brains were all jokes. However, they were unwilling. Xia Huyo's shoulder was pinched until it was blue and purple. He scratched his head. He did not understand, he did not understand. Looking at his second grandfather, he revealed a questioning look. Did he really not care? More and more people were getting involved. The Dragon Martial Guards had completely sealed off the area. The civilized teachers in the army did not say a word. Their willpower burst out and sealed off the area, preventing the energy from leaking out. Xia Huyo looked at Lord Xia once more. Lord Xia turned to look at him and shook his head slightly. No matter. Wait. Continue to wait. He wanted to wait. In the distance, the sound of explosions could be heard continuously. Two Peak Mountain and Sea Realm experts were currently fighting in an area that no one could see. The battle was massive, stretching for dozens of li. The mountains collapsed, and the rivers stopped flowing. It was very powerful. It was shocking. But Su Yu couldn't see it, nor was he in the mood to see it. He saw that the number of guards around Lu Wenyan was decreasing. There was nothing he could do. He could only watch helplessly. The soul-devouring art was useless. Su Yu looked around. There were still many people in the darkness who were watching the battle. They were silently watching everything. The soul-devouring art is a book that damages willpower. Is anyone willing to help? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 717. Chapter 717, Chapter 183 came back one after another 5. Su Yu shouted loudly. No one answered. The method to produce the innate blood essence, plus the soul-devouring art. Someone looked over, but still didn't say anything. Su Yu's voice was hoarse as he yelled, add another basic text art. The text art in the air. Open 36 God apertures. Is anyone willing to make a move? Is anyone willing? The moment these words were said, everyone was shocked. Lord Xiaoho suddenly looked at him. On the other side, Lu Wenyan also looked at him in shock. Su Yu roared, no one from the great Xia manor is willing to help. What about the other manors? Since the Xia family doesn't care, the other manors experts are not qualified to help either. Is anyone willing? Formula. In the sky, someone finally spoke. Is it really the formula under the sky? It can open 36 God apertures. It's true. Su Yu roared, as long as you kill a mountain and sea, it's yours. Soul-devouring art, innate blood essence production method, basic art. It's all yours. Su Yu roared, isn't it enough? Is it enough to add another heaven rank art? At this moment, countless gazes gathered. How many people from the Divine Literature Department? My name is Su Yu, a direct descendant of Master Bai Feng. Is it enough? Su Yu roared, if it's not enough. That's enough. Have you sold your ancestral property? At this moment, someone chuckled, silly boy, are you going to sell all the properties of the polytheistic faction? Silly boy, it's just a joke. Everyone, don't take it seriously. Our polytheistic faction is so poor. How can we have these things? In the darkness, a young man walked out with a long spear in his hand. He smiled and said, don't mess around. Go back quickly. It's just a joke. Nothing will happen. The young man walked out step by step, and someone called out in a low voice, Xia Yunqi. Xia Yunqi was one of the legendary figures of the past, and one of the freaks of the Divine Literature Department. At the moment, Xia Yunqi was a young man. His face was pale, but he was full of smiles. He looked at Su Yu and said with a smile, I'm just fooling around. Stop fooling around, kid. After saying this, he casually thrust his spear forward and said with a smile, Brother Wen Yan, what are you doing back so early? I'm here. Can Brother Zhang's grave really be dug up? As soon as he finished speaking, the tip of a spear suddenly appeared in the chest of a mountain and sea realm expert. Puchi. The spear shattered his body. Xia Yunqi smiled and pulled out his spear. His body flickered as he waved his spear toward an expert of the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. Ping! The void exploded. The expression of the expert of the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm changed, and just as he was about to dodge, a divine symbol appeared. Dragon. The divine symbol spear fused together, and the spear was like a dragon. In the air, an enormous golden dragon appeared and swallowed the opponent. It instantly transformed into a spear and fell into Xia Yunqi's hand. Xia Yunqi smiled, and the spear vibrated. Within it, one could vaguely see an expert roaring and continuously bombarding the spear. The spear vibrated violently. Xia Yunqi smiled, and a ball of flame appeared in his hand. The spear was set ablaze. A blood-curdling scream resounded through the heavens and earth. Xia Yunqi coughed, looked around, and said with a smile, retreat. If there's another sun and moon, I won't care. If there's no sun and moon, Zhou Mingren, he's still not enough. After saying this, he looked at Su Yu again and said with a smile, go back. Go to the academy and fool around. What are you selling? Ancestral property cannot be sold. If I sell it, I'll let down my ancestors. I'll let down those teachers. Su Yu's face was filled with joy. An expert of the many divine languages. No, the expert who had been expelled in the past had returned. At this moment, a palm suddenly appeared behind Xia Yunqi and slapped towards him. Shan Tianhao. Xia Yunqi frowned. At this moment, the spear in his hand trembled even more violently and restrained him. At the same time, a shocking sword ray descended. It went straight for Shan Tianhao. Shan Tianhao frowned and instantly retreated, avoiding the sword light. Xia Yinchi, you're really fast. A female voice rang out. In the darkness, a woman stepped through the air and came over. On the other side, Wuxia, who was fighting with an expert, suddenly cursed angrily, Hu Ping, you did it on purpose. You came late on purpose. Watch me make a fool of myself. Ridiculous. You're making trouble without reason. In the air, the woman holding a long sword snorted. Watch you make a fool of yourself. You're a joke to begin with. What's there to watch? B*TCH, wait until I kill this bastard. I'm not done with you. With that, she completely flew into a rage. The huge cauldron smashed in all directions, and streams of black smoke rose from within. The mountains and seas touched the black smoke, and their bodies instantly rotted. Black smoke pervaded the air. Xia Yinchi and Hu Ping. The two experts who had been expelled all those years ago returned one after another. As for Su Yu, he looked at them in a daze. Suddenly, he smiled. There were still people. In the next moment, Su Yu said excitedly, "Thank you, seniors. The other seniors, please forgive me. I was just joking just now. Xia Huyo hasn't given me the art of literature yet. I can't sell it even if I wanted to. Don't misunderstand." Xia Huyo stared at him blankly. What did he mean? Many people instantly looked at Xia Huyo. Someone recognized him and then paused for a moment. Su Yu was selling the art of literature of the Xia family. F***CK. F***CK, is this kid speaking the truth? Is he trying to trick us? We were almost tricked to death. Do you dare to take the art of literature of the Xia family? Xia Huyo looked at Su Yu, still in a daze. This bastard really knows my identity. The art of literature you mentioned, what's the situation? When did I say that I would give you the art of literature to sell? Su Yu remained calm and pinched his shoulder. You have it, you really have it. Xia Huyo's eyes flickered and instantly lit up. I have it. I really have it. F***CK. This guy, has this? The next moment, Xia Huyo laughed and said, that, seniors, don't mind me. I was really prepared to give it to Su Yu, sponsored by a personal friend. Don't misunderstand. Whoever really bought it just now, I will take it out. Su Yu is my brother, my best brother. The art of calligraphy is nothing. Lord Xia Ho could not help but look at him. You have it. You do have it. You have 18 apertures. Are you crazy to tell Su Yu this? You still want to give it to him? Xia Huyo smiled apologetically and pinched Su Yu. He said softly, I won't give it to you. Are you stupid? I told you to secretly sell it. You shouted so loudly and even knew that I gave it to you. Give it back to me first. Otherwise, my family will be unhappy. Su Yu glanced at him and smiled. He took out a jade talisman and handed it to him. Xia Huyo's hand trembled when he held it in his hand. Holy shit. Really? Seeing his second grandpa looking at him, Xia Huyo grinned and said awkwardly, fake, fake. I didn't dare to give it away for real. I was just lying to Su Yu. I didn't expect him to really take it out and sell it. Don't be angry. Xia Ho looked at the two of them in surprise. What was going on? Xia Huyo was extremely excited at this moment. F***CK, was it really a literary technique? Where did this fellow, Su Yu, come from? F***CK, if it's true, I've made a huge profit. P.S. The writing is a little messy, maybe I should take a day off to adjust. I'm sorry, looking at the situation these few days, I might need to take a day off. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 718. Chapter 718, Chapter 184, unforeseen events, late, sorry, 1. Xia Hu was especially delighted and couldn't help but look at Su Yu. Even now, he still couldn't believe it. Was what this guy gave him real? Su Yu didn't look at him anymore. He looked at the battle zone not far away. With the arrival of Xia Yinqi and Hu Ping, the two geniuses from the multi-god literature department had both displayed unparalleled combat strength. The mountains and seas were high and heavy. As for the levels, Su Yu couldn't tell. He only knew that the previous few mountains and seas had been pushed back one after another. The long spear was like a dragon. Xia Yunqi had trapped a 7th-level mountain and sea realm expert, and was still suppressing one of them. As for Hu Ping, she was facing Shan Tianhao, a 9th-level mountain and sea realm expert. She didn't say much, and a long sword flashed in the sky. Under the dark night, sword chi was like frost, sweeping across the area. The weapons of these two people were not ordinary scribes. Su Yu saw the shadows of the divine writing battle techniques, and divine writing flickered one after another. They were all attack-type experts. Hu Yu, help me introduce them. Su Yu looked at Xia Huyo. He wanted to know who the people who had come today were. He was too inexperienced and didn't know these mountains and seas. As the son of the manor head, Xia Huyo obviously had an impression of the mountains and seas. Even if he hadn't seen them before, he had checked their information. At this moment, he didn't say much and said in a low voice, "You know Elder Wu Yuehua, right? The one she was suppressing was Nine Heavens Academy's Tang Yunfei. Over there." Xia Huyo pointed and saw a middle-aged man riding a fierce tiger in the distance. He was extremely valiant and held a large halberd in his hand, sending a man flying. The one riding the tiger is Beast Taming Department's Elder He Chi. The person on your side is Nine Heavens Academy's Elder Chiu Yunhua. Over there. Su Yu looked again and saw an elder surrounded by countless divine talismans. There was frost, sword chi, and lightning. That's Elder Fan Jin from the Divine Talismans Department. He's also on your side. His opponent is Elder Wang Ming from the Dao Seeking Institute. One expert after another was recognized by Xia Huyo. There were many mountains and seas. There were people from all over the world. There were also many experts from the Many Divine Languages Department. In the academy alone, there were 4 pavilion elders participating. Not including Hong Tan and the others, including the 3 of them, there were 7 Shanghai realm experts participating in the battle. Outside the academy, the Nine Heavens and Dao Seeking Academy had the help of the Shanghai Pavilion elders. There were also Shanghai realm experts who appeared as enemies, and there were even more enemies. At this moment, there were more than 20 Shanghai realm experts gathered here. That's Shan Tianhao, the dean of the Great Zhou Civilization Academy, the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. At this moment, Xia Huyu was introducing Shan Tianhao. He has a grandson, the monster of the Great Zhou Manor that everyone is talking about, the one who rose to the sky in half a year. However, his grandson has little to do with him. He was personally taught by Zhou Polong, the dean of the Great Zhou Civilization Academy. Su Yu nodded. He had long known that the Great Zhou Manor's genius had a high-level researcher's grandfather, so it turned out to be this person. He noted down these people one by one. Su Yu said softly, "Some people don't seem to have any grudges against us. Why do they want to get involved? Benefits. It was that simple." Xia Huyo said softly, "Who doesn't want to see the 5th-generation divine pros? Who wouldn't want it?" The Great Zhou Manor displayed such an attitude and even sent people over. These people either sold Zhou Baolong well, or they did it for their own benefit. Sold. Su Yu said softly, "Aren't you afraid of offending the Xia family?" Xia Huyo thought for a moment. After a long while, he said softly, "I'm not afraid. Because civilized masters mainly rely on seeking the realm. Let's put it this way, the Xia family's war path is at the peak. The great Xia king and the Xia manor head both directly walked towards the peak of the warpath. In the Seeking Realm, the Xia family is not strong, and the Xia Chongqing manor head and Xia Yinqi's grandfather are at the peak of this path. At this moment, Su Yu seemed to vaguely understand something. He said in a deep voice, "The great Zhou king is an expert in the Seeking Realm?" "Yes." Xia Huyo nodded. "You finally understand, right? The civilized masters are actually respected by the Great Zhou Manor, especially on the Great Zhou Manor's side. The Zhou Pulong Manor head might become invincible and become a giant under the Seeking Realm." Su Yu understood. No wonder, even in the Xia family's territory, while these people followed the Xia family's rules, they still dared to interfere in these battles. This was because civilized masters did not rely on the Xia family. On the other hand, the Xia family still needed to rely on civilized masters. The Demon Suppression Army and the Dragon Martial Guards needed a large number of civilized masters. The Xia family can't control them? They can. Xia Huyo laughed. How can they not control them? You're underestimating the Xia family too much. However, according to the agreement between the Xia family and the civilized masters, if they don't join the army, the Xia family usually won't care too much about them. The civilized masters are more concerned about freedom. It's normal for talents to flow. If they really run to the Great Zhou Manor, there's nothing we can do. Of course, under normal circumstances, running away from home won't bring any benefits. Su Yu nodded and didn't ask any more questions. At this moment, within the battle zone, killing intent soared into the sky. Su Yu and the others actually couldn't see anything. At most, they could see some figures flickering. Lu Wenyan was still standing at the same spot. There were no mountains and seas protecting him anymore. Only a few Ling Yun who had just arrived guarded him vigilantly. Lu Wenyan looked around and suddenly said, "I still have the same old saying. If the divine instruments can't be conjured, they can be conjured. The descendants who died with my master back then can observe it. The others can't. Are you sure you want to dig up Zhang Ruoling's grave? I'll move my grave back to the southern Yuan and not return to the Great Xia Manor. How about that?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 719. Chapter 719, Chapter 184 was full of mishaps, a little late, sorry, too. You can't materialize it? Someone shouted coldly. Xia Yinqi and Hu Ping both appeared, and they can materialize it, but you can't. Lu Wenyan, you're too selfish. The fifth generation divine text isn't yours alone, it's everyone's. That's right, in order to achieve the Tao of the fifth generation, countless civilized masters died. You, Lu Wenyan, monopolized the fifth generation divine text. It's not like we didn't give you time. It's been 50 years, and you're still finding excuses today. The Shanghai realm experts roared in anger. Lu Wenyan said calmly, "The divine prose doesn't belong to me alone, but some people don't have the right to say that either. The friends that my master took away back then didn't leave many descendants. This group of people says that they're senior brothers, and that they're junior brothers. They don't have anything to do with each other. What right do you have to say that? They don't have the right, but what about me?" Someone angrily shouted, "Back then, my father followed 5 generations and died in battle. He didn't even leave the divine text inheritance to me. Instead, he left it to the so-called geniuses. Anyway, my father died in your great Xia's Institute of Civilization. Who knows if it's true or not?" Lu Wenyan recognized the voice and lightly sighed. "Brother Qi, back then, Uncle Qi was seriously injured and dying. By the time you were notified, Uncle Qi couldn't hold on anymore, so he chose Lu Ran to inherit the divine text. Lu Ran has already passed away." In the darkness, the person shouted, "I don't need to hear this. Lu Ran is already dead, and I don't feel like digging up his grave, so I let my father's divine runes rest in the ground. I just want to know, do I have the qualifications to see the research data my father left behind? Where is the data that the 5th generation said about advancing to invincibility? My father also spent a lot of effort in the past and followed the 5th generation to research together. In the end, with the results, my father died in battle, so there's nothing for us to do. Lu Wenyan said in a deep voice, my master really didn't leave any information behind. Everyone who saw it that day knew about this. Only a few less important information wasn't complete either. For example, the divine text fusion. So later, Hong Tan revealed the divine text fusion system to the public. It was only after Hong Tan expanded that it was formed. The information left behind by the 5 generations was researched and almost all of it was made public. The fusion of divine runes was an extremely important research result at present. Back then, Hong Tan had directly made it public. It was just that the fusion technique was too difficult and had been sealed in the end. However, many experts knew about it. I don't believe that this is all there is. The person who came shouted, why didn't Baifeng's divine runes combat technique splitting technique spread out before? Lu Wenyan frowned and said, that was Baifeng's own research results, not those left behind by my master. These things were all created by Baifeng himself. Clearly, someone had taken the stance of this research result. Everything left behind by the 5th generation had been given, except for one divine rune. Now, these people even owed the results of Baifeng's research to the 5th generation. If they wanted to get it without paying any price, Lu Wenyan was furious. He couldn't possibly agree. Baifeng's research? What a joke. Baifeng has only entered the academy for a few years. He already knew that you guys were dishonest. With that said, huge mountains appeared out of thin air and pressed down on Lu Wenyan. Just as the others were fighting against these mountains, Lu Wenyan's brows twitched. He suddenly slammed his palm onto the ground. A black shadow was blasted out from the ground. On the other side, Wu Yuehua was alarmed. The huge cauldron instantly pressed down. With a rumble, the black shadow shattered. The huge cauldron flew away, and because Wu Yuehua was distracted, her defense was also broken through by the opponent's divine text. With a poochie sound, it pierced through her shoulder. The battle became even more intense. Suyu frowned, and suddenly looked over at Lord Xiaoho. What was this person thinking? More and more mountains and seas were participating, and if a few really died, the great Xia Manor's losses wouldn't be small. Did he really not care? Lord Xiaoho did not care about him. At this moment, no one could hear what Chief Hu and Lord Xiaoho were whispering. Lord Xiaoho, what do we do now? Lord Xiaoho did not say anything. After a moment of silence, he asked, where's Zhao Mingyue? She's not back yet. She'll be back soon. Tell old Zhao to tell his sister that she's back. Take Lu Wenyan and leave this place. Return to the southern Yuan. Master Ho. Chief Hu looked at him for a while. His expression changed slightly as he nodded. Soon, General Zhao heard something. He frowned, nodded, and quickly disappeared from the spot. The battle became even more intense. At that moment, a figure tore through the air from afar. Someone shouted, Zhao Mingyue. Stop her. Get lost. A soft shout was heard. Before Su Yu could see the figure, he saw a long rod cleaving down from the sky. With a bang, a mountain and sea was sent flying. The next moment, a woman landed on the ground. She was full of heroic spirit and her eyes were filled with killing intent. She didn't waste any time and quickly flew towards Lu Wenyan. Along the way, the other mountains and seas were all stopped by someone. What are you waiting for? Come with me. Zhao Mingyue shouted and quickly went forward. She dragged Lu Wenyan out of the battle zone. On the other side, Wu Yuehua cursed in a low voice but didn't say anything. It was time to bring Lu Wenyan out. If they stayed in the battle zone, it would be very easy for something to happen. Xia Yunqi and the others also shouted, "Wenyan, you go first. We are here. We want to see who can dig up Ruo Ling's grave. Leave Lu Wenyan behind." The others all shouted. The moment Lu Wenyan left the battle zone, all the efforts gathered today would be for naught. It was not easy for the Xia family to open up a battle zone in the Great Xia Manor to settle their grudges. Such an opportunity was very rare. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 720. Chapter 720, Chapter 184, Unforeseen Circumstances, Sorry for Being Late, 3. At other times, even if they were to fight, everyone would be very conservative and would not dare to go all out. It would be fine if they were to spar, but once a life was lost, the Xia family would intervene. Today was the best time to capture Lu Wenyan and even kill him in the war zone. Just as Zhao Mingyue was leading Lu Wenyan out, a soft sigh was heard. In the next moment, a huge flag covered the sky and covered the sun. "Lu Wenyan, it's better to stay." Zhao Mingyue's sword-like eyebrows were raised as she shouted, "Jin Yuhui, you dare to interfere. The head of the Nine Heavens Academy. Mingyue, you can all leave. If Lu Wenyan wants to stay, or leave a divine text." An old voice sounded in the air. The head of the Nine Heavens Academy had interfered. A true peak expert of the mountain and sea realm. There were even people who suspected that he had already advanced to the sun and moon realm. Just like the 10,000 heavenly saints, it was possible that he had successfully advanced. However, they did not reveal it to the public. In the Great Xia Manor, the 10,000 heavenly saints was known as the strongest civilized master. The second was the head of the Nine Heavens Academy. As for Director Ji and the others, they were not considered civilized masters. Although they knew some civilized master methods, they were mainly on the side of the fighters. Lu Wenyan was pulled by Zhao Mingyue. He had been a little quiet before, but now, he suddenly flew into a rage. "Jin Yuhui. What right do you have to get involved? Our faction does not owe you anything. Not only do we not owe you anything, you shameless person. You used our divine text fusion technique, and you have the nerve to announce to the public that you are one of the founders. There's no point in saying too much." Jin Yuhui did not argue. He unleashed his banner, covering the sky and directly covering them. "Break!" Zhao Mingyue shouted sternly and soared into the sky. A long staff shot out, and with a boom, it struck the banner. With a loud bang, the surroundings trembled. The flag trembled for a moment, and soon, divine runes flew out and fused into the flag. They stabilized the literary soldier, and it descended once more. "Die!" Zhao Mingyue roared once more. With the long staff in her hand, she struck out once more with a loud boom. However, the other party was too powerful, and the flag was still slowly descending. Once it descended, Lu Wenyan would be suppressed. "Go to hell!" Zhao Mingyue roared furiously, and the long staff burst out with an incomparably brilliant radiance. At the same time, in other directions, a long spear, a long sword, and a huge cauldron fell toward the flag. In the distance, Hong Tan, who was still fighting with Zhou Mingren, roared, "Jin Yuhui, you're courting death." After saying that, Hong Tan, who was previously invisible, suddenly expanded his body. In an instant, everyone saw an incomparably huge giant appear. A shield was held in the left hand of the giant, protecting his chest. A long sword was held in the right hand of the giant. He stepped through the air, ignoring Zhou Mingren's attack. The shield flickered with light and blocked Zhou Mingren's attack. Hong Tan transformed into a giant and rushed over. He swung his sword, sword chi swept across thousands of meters. Boom! The sword chi fell and slashed on the big flag. With a tearing sound, the big flag was torn apart. Cough cough. A coughing sound came from the air. Jin Yuhui sighed and said, Hong Tan, you really have hidden your strength. At this moment, Zhou Mingren shouted in a low voice. Hong Tan, who was about to continue walking, was surrounded by huge stone pillars. The stone pillars appeared and instantly sealed him within. Zhou Mingren's aura was majestic. He frowned and said indifferently, Hong Tan, our battle is not over yet. Don't get involved in other places. Old fart, you're courting death. Hong Tan was furious. He held the huge shield in his hand and smashed a huge pillar with a rumble. He held the sword in his right hand and swept in all directions again. The huge pillars were broken one by one. Zhou Mingren did not care. Outside the huge pillar, it suddenly turned into an ocean. Huge waves appeared and smashed towards Hong Tan, who was inside the huge pillar. Su Yu walked to Zheng Ping's side at this moment and said softly, Grandpa Zheng, the battle is so intense. Aren't you going to comment on it? Zheng Ping had a strange expression. Comment? Kid, you don't understand. You want me to say a few words, right? You sure are thick-skinned. He had nothing better to do. Zheng Ping smiled and said, the one who attacked just now was Jin Yuhui, the head of the Nine Heavens Academy, the peak of the mountain in Sea Realm. He can be considered half a step into the Sun and Moon Realm. The three strongest people in the arena, one is Hong Tan, one is Jin Yuhui, and the other is Zhou Mingren. They can be considered half a step into the Sun and Moon Realm. Hong Tan's left shield, right sword, and shield. That's his battle technique with divine runes. Zhou Mingren has 8 divine runes. The pillar from before was the stone divine runes, and now the ocean is the wave divine runes. Zhou Mingren's main divine runes are not these, but the sun divine runes. The great sun is in the sky. Once the main divine runes are used, the battle will reach its peak. Su Yu quickly asked, why did Jin Yuhui make a move? When your 5th generation prefect was still around, he couldn't even raise his head due to the grudge between the previous generation. This fellow has also been studying the path of divine arts fusion for many years. Your school had previously introduced the study of divine arts fusion and then sealed it up. Jin Yuhui is very interested in all of this. In addition, the 5th generation divine arts might be involved in this, so it's not strange for this fellow to make a move. Su Yu nodded and said, Grandpa Zheng, teacher Lu Wenyan could have left before this. Why didn't he leave? Will he be fine once he leaves the combat zone? Leave? Zheng Ping shook his head and said, he can't leave. He won't be able to leave after he leaves Nanyuan. Nanyuan was actually equivalent to his cage. Now that he had escaped, he had gained his freedom. However, he had also lost some protection. In Nanyuan, almost no one had dared to find fault with him in the past 50 years. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 721. Chapter 721, Chapter 184 was full of mishaps. Sorry for being late, 4. But after 50 years, many people couldn't wait any longer. So after he came out of the southern Yuan, he either had to hand over the divine text or give up on some people's thoughts. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to return. Su Yu frowned and glanced at Lu Wenyan, who was trapped under the banner. Zhao Mingyue and the others were very strong, but at this moment, they weren't a match for Jin Yuhui. Then, what is the strength of Senior Xia Yinqi and the others? Around the 7th layer of the mountain and sea realm. Zheng Ping's eyes were sharp. He quickly said, if they break out, they will probably be close to the 9th layer of the mountain and sea realm. However, I feel that there are still some problems with the divine runes they have fused. Their combat strength is not long enough, and they are not able to fuse enough. Right now, we can only say that they have just barely succeeded. After saying this, He sighed and said, if they're at the mountain and sea realm, then it won't be worth it. If these guys don't fuse with the divine runes, then the weakest of them should be at the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. There's also hope for the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. If they don't enter the sun and moon realm, then fusing with the divine runes back then would be a loss. If they didn't enter the sun and moon realm, then fusing with the divine runes back then wouldn't be worth it. 50 years was enough for these people to cultivate to the mountain and sea realm themselves. Back then, the goal was to let them quickly enter the sun-moon realm, not to let them remain in the cultivation state for 50 years. It seems like there are still many problems with this inheritance. What a pity. Zheng Ping sighed, feeling a little regretful. However, he didn't care too much. Civilized teachers were like this. Sometimes, for a research, they would put in a lot of effort and resources, but in the end, they still failed. There was nothing he could do about it. Obviously, the inheritance back then wasn't considered a success. In that case, it was a pity. Many people were actually still waiting to see the results. Zhao Mingyue and the others had returned, but they were all mountains and seas. Moreover, they hadn't stabilized their battle prowess yet. In that case, there was no need for the inheritance of the divine inscriptions. Su Yu was also very regretful. Not being able to enter the sun and moon for 50 years, none of these geniuses back then were weaker than Hong Tan. In the end, their battle prowess wasn't even comparable. They even had to bear the blame and humiliation for decades. Speaking of which, it was indeed not worth it. Moreover, many people had died. For example, Zhang Ruoling, who was buried here. Su Yu could not care less about these things. He hurriedly said, they have captured Teacher Lu. Could it be that they really want to kill him? Since Lu Wenyan did not manifest the divine text, it is hard to say. Su Yu said, on the side of the great Xia Manor, Grandpa Zheng, aren't you people a little disappointed? Zheng Ping said helplessly, let's put it this way, if the Xia family doesn't make a move, we, strictly speaking, are all soldiers of the Xia family. If the Xia family doesn't make a move, then we have to listen to orders. I sympathize with you, but I can't help you. Including old Zhao and old Hu, their families are all here. Do you think they don't care? Zheng Ping sighed. Hu Ping and Zhao Mingyue are their family. They care more than anyone else. But if Lord Xia doesn't give the order, then we can't interfere. If they don't even care about their own family, then who can they hope to protect? Is there still a need for a war in the heavenly battlefield? This. Zheng Ping was at a loss for words. He said awkwardly, if my family is here, I will definitely go. If they don't dare, then there's nothing I can do. If my family isn't here, then I will fight to the death with them. There's no need, right? Su Yu felt a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he would have encouraged Qing Yunhui to come over. Of course, it was hard to say if he had come over. A student who was in a good mood might have been killed. On the other side, General Zhao and Manager Hu did not say anything. The two of them looked at Lord Xiaohou. Lord Xiaohou did not say anything either. When he saw the two of them looking over, he smiled and said, don't be anxious, Jin Yuhui, let this fellow force him to see if he still has any tricks up his sleeve. Zhao and Hu looked at each other and could only nod. Xiahou Yi didn't care about them. He turned his head to look at the Great Xia Civilization Academy in the distance. What was that old fellow, Wan Tianxing, doing now? The banner descended bit by bit, and Zhao Mingyue could no longer resist it. Blood flowed from her mouth as she was continuously suppressed. In the distance, Hong Tan had transformed into a giant, and his expression was unsightly. Zhou Mingren, I'm giving you face. I'll spar with you. Are you sure you won't give way? If you win, I'll naturally give way to you. Zhou Mingren responded indifferently. At this moment, a great sun shone on Hong Tan's body. The light flickered, but Hong Tan's giant shield was constantly melting. Don't you want to see if I have the advancement information left by my master? Let me tell you, I don't have it, and I don't need it. The path of the predecessors is just a reference. Can you really follow the path of the predecessors and step into invincibility? Hong Tan shouted in a low voice, Zhou Mingren, don't regret it. Then Hong Tan roared. The huge shield and the long sword suddenly began to merge together, and a new long sword was born. Don't you all want to see it? Then I'll show it to you. Unite! With a furious roar, the two weapons instantly fused into one. At this moment, an incomparably powerful willpower erupted from Hong Tan's body. If you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Holding the giant sword, the sword was like the sun and the moon, flickering with light. With a rumble, the sword had yet to descend when the great sun in the sky shattered. Zhou Mingren coughed up blood and quickly withdrew the great sun. That was his main divine text. The stone pillar shattered, and the great waves shattered. The heavens collapsed and the earth shattered. Jin Yuhui, you're courting death. Hong Tan ignored Zhou Mingren, who was fleeing at high speed. His figure pierced through the air, and he quickly appeared on the ground, slashing down with his sword. Rumble. A shocking explosion sounded out, and the huge flag disappeared. It appeared in the hands of an old man. In the darkness, the old man held the huge flag in his hand, and he quickly blocked the attack. With a piercing sound, the huge flag shattered. The old man coughed up blood and retreated thousands of meters. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 722. Chapter 722, Chapter 184 was full of mishaps, sorry for being late, 5. Hong Tan's body was as big as a small mountain at this moment. He stepped forward again and slashed down with his sword. Jin Yuhui's expression was unsightly. He shouted in a low voice, Zhou Mingren, together. On the other side, Zhou Mingren quickly broke through the air and also appeared with the sun and moon in his hand. He struck out with his palm. Trash, get lost. Hong Tan's huge sword swept horizontally. With a bang, it smashed Zhou Mingren flying backwards. Hong Tan stepped down and directly stepped on Jin Yuhui. Sun and moon. Many people cried out in surprise. Hong Tan had entered the sun and moon. So fast. Isn't it close? Shan Tianhao quickly roared. It wasn't the sun and moon yet, but it was close. Quick, take down Lu Wenyan. Shan Tianhao quickly charged toward Lu Wenyan. Zhao Mingyue and the others were heavily injured, and they roared in anger. However, it was difficult for them to defend against Shan Tianhao, who was at the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. Lu Wenyan, who was being protected at the back, was frowning. No sun and moon are coming. Lu Wenyan thought to himself. He turned his head to look at Lord Xia in the distance. Are you waiting for me to strike? All these years, are you also investigating? After this strike, will someone appear? Which sun and moon realm cultivator will make a move? If he doesn't, he will have to leave. Let's go. Lu Wenyan suddenly said, Yun Qi, you guys stop them. I'll leave first. If Ling is in your hands, I'll return to the southern Yuan first. Remember to come to the southern Yuan to look for me. All right. The few of them shouted loudly. Zhao Mingyue shouted, Wu Yuehua, what are you still standing there for? Send him away. Wu Yuehua rolled her eyes at her. There was no need for her to say that. A cauldron sent her opponent flying. She quickly landed on the ground and grabbed Lu Wenyan before flying out. Someone shouted, Lu Wenyan, you can leave today, but you can't leave tomorrow. If you leave today, this debt will never be settled. Lu Wenyan didn't speak. On the other side, Zhou Mingren and Jin Yuhui were resisting Hong Tan with great difficulty. At this moment, Zhou Mingren also shouted, "Lu Wenyan, if you don't leave behind the divine runes, then it's a disaster. Haven't you caused enough trouble for the many divine runes?" Lu Wenyan remained silent. At this moment, he was about to leave the battle zone. Once he left, he would leave, and today's battle would come to an end. In order to force Lu Wenyan out, he had already paid a huge price. Just as Wu Yuehua was about to step out of the battle zone, a huge hand descended from the sky. Wu Yuehua let out an angry roar, and a cauldron struck out. Boom! The huge cauldron flew out with a kacha sound, and was somewhat shattered. A strike from the 8th layer of the mountain and sea realm had almost shattered the literary soldier. Sun Moon Realm. Wu Yuehua was shocked and roared angrily, "Who is it?" In the darkness, no one responded. The huge palm grabbed toward Lu Wenyan. Not far away, Lord Xia stood up. His eyes were solemn. The Sun Moon Realm had made their move. The true Sun Moon Realm was not the type that had just entered. Bastard! Wu Yuehua grabbed Lu Wenyan and was about to throw him out of the battle zone. The huge cauldron returned and was about to fight its way out, but Lu Wenyan grabbed her hand and did not give her the chance to throw him out. "You!" Wu Yuehua was furious. "You idiot, why aren't you running?" The true Sun Moon Realm was coming. On the other side, Hong Tan also roared and slashed his sword crazily, killing Jin and Zhou. "How dare you! I'll kill you!" Hong Tan was furious, but it was too late. The distance was too far. At this moment, the huge hand had already covered over. Wu Yuehua's god apertures exploded, and one god aperture after another instantly became one. With the huge cauldron in hand, she was about to rush up and fight with the sun and moon. Lu Wenyan grabbed her hand again and sighed. "Don't court death." As he spoke, he looked at the huge hand. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." Then, his sea of consciousness shook violently. In the next moment, a huge axe appeared in his hand. Yes, an axe. This axe was extremely dim at this moment. As soon as the axe appeared, the surroundings instantly became quiet for a moment. Lu Wenyan looked at the axe and felt a little dejected. "It's been a long time since I've made a move. I almost forgot that I'm Lu Wenyan." In the next moment, he looked up at the sky and smiled. "It's you. Kill." An explosive shout echoed through heaven and earth. At this moment, Lu Wenyan was holding a huge axe in his hand. The axe instantly shone like the sun and the moon. The axe directly split open the huge hand, and blood splattered everywhere. In heaven and earth, there was only this axe. In the outer area, Su Yu's face was filled with shock. At this moment, all of the mountain and sea battles ceased to exist. There was only this axe in the entire world. Lu Wenyan. In the air, someone sighed. A bright moon appeared, and it fell toward the axe. Puchi. In an instant, the bright moon shattered. Puchi. Someone coughed up blood and muttered, "An invincible aura, you, succeeded in fusing." Cut. Lu Wenyan didn't reply. He roared again, and with the huge axe in hand, he charged into the darkness. At this moment, Lu Wenyan was incomparably powerful. He destroyed the sun and moon with a single strike. In the darkness, the light gradually lit up, and an illusory figure appeared. Lord Xiaoho's eyes were burning as he looked in that direction. Following which, his gaze flickered, and he didn't care about that direction. Looking at Manager Hu straightened his back. At this moment, a faint invincible aura burst forth from Lu Wenyan's body, sweeping in all directions. Su Yu directly laid on the ground. He felt that the air was filled with a suppressive force, and he simply couldn't resist it. He didn't resist it either. In any case, it was his teacher, so he could just lie down. Suyu couldn't hide his shock. Teacher Lu, was that strong? Break! With a boom, the illusory figure in the air was directly shattered. In the next moment, Lu Wenyan's expression changed drastically. Fake! At this moment, a divine symbol exploded at the shattered spot. It was the divine cultural incarnation. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 723. Chapter 723, Chapter 184 was full of mishaps. Sorry for being late. 6. It wasn't a real person. Someone had a fake sun and moon created by divine runes. But it was comparable to a real sun and moon. And at this moment, the void behind Lu Wenyan shattered, and a finger appeared, heading straight for his head. At the same time, the few spectators who had been indifferent earlier had already broken through the void and charged out in an instant. The immortal-like general who was like an ancient demon. His blood and chi surged into the sky as he suddenly broke through the void. With a roar, he stepped into the void. Under the circumstances where no one could see him, it was as if he was fighting with something. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Lu Wenyan. With a bang, he broke the finger that was charging toward Lu Wenyan. No! General Hu shouted in a low voice. On the other side, General Zhao, who outsiders had always thought was only at the peak of the mountain and sea realm, was so powerful at this moment that it was shocking. The moment General Hu finished speaking, General Zhao already had his long spear in hand, and his spear pierced through the heaven and earth. As if it had broken through the void, a figure appeared in the void. Are you all waiting for me? The figure laughed, but he didn't care. He knew that someone was waiting for him. He reached out again and grabbed General Zhao's spear. In the sky, 5 suns appeared. 5th level of the sun and moon. Outsiders thought that it was General Zhao of the mountains and seas, an expert at the 5th level of the sun and moon. The spear merged with the sun and moon and shot out. Boom! The space collapsed, but the figure didn't care. He reached out again and charged toward Lu Wenyan. General Hu quickly broke through the void and charged toward the huge hand. At this moment, Lu Wenyan let out a low growl and slashed towards the sky with his axe. In the sky, another tunnel appeared and a fist directly fell. What a big move! Right at this moment, Lord Xiaoho sighed. To kill him, he really went through a lot of trouble. The huge axe and the fist collided, and light shone in all directions. Lord Xiaoho finished the watermelon in his hand in one bite and grinned. I've been waiting for you for a long time, but there really is. F***ck, you can't hide anymore. As he spoke, the figure that had remained on the spot had already shattered. Before anyone noticed anything, a fat old man appeared in the air and grabbed the fist. With a rumble, he broke through the space and walked into the depths of the space. Don't leave now that you're here. Old Zhao, hurry up. That's the eternal divine text. Don't shatter it. Capture it. I want to find out whose divine cultural avatar it is. Order. The 2 suns and moons responded. Booms rang out continuously. The 2 experts no longer hid their strength. In fact, General Hu was even stronger than General Zhao. He covered the sky with one hand and covered the figure that had appeared earlier. Capture me. The figure laughed, and a huge boom rang out as a divine symbol appeared. In the next instant, it shattered. With a bang, Manager Whose palm exploded, and the divine text avatar also shattered. Manager Who frowned, and grabbed the shattered pieces of the divine text into his hand. At this moment, the entire world seemed to be filled with willpower. Countless willpower overflowed, and the divine text's essence circulated in the void. An eternal divine text shattered. And at this moment, Suyu was stunned. He didn't care much. The divine text in his sea of will quickly absorbed the essence and willpower, and one divine aperture after another was rapidly opened. He couldn't care less about what had happened. He only knew that something big had happened. In a short moment it was as if two eternal divine inscriptions had been broken. Lu Wenyan had broken one, while Manager Hu and the others had broken one. What was going on? Who was it? That invincible state cultivator. At this moment, Lord Xiaoho had already disappeared. Only the void could be heard shaking continuously. Lord Xiaoho's loud cries could be heard continuously. At the same time. In the heart cultivation pavilion. Wan Tianqing's eyes were darting around, as though he was looking at something. After a long while, he frowned and said, "It's not fake, he didn't come. Fatty Xia, that fool. He has alarmed the enemy." He cursed. Wan Tianqing's face was filled with fury and dissatisfaction. This fool did not intend to capture him at all. He just wanted to alarm the enemy and scare him away. You bastard. So what if I'm invincible? I should kill him too. He knew what Master Xiaoho was thinking, but he was displeased. He was very displeased. Soon, Myriad Heaven Saint took a deep breath and sat down. There's no rush, I can still wait. If I can't do it this time, then I'll do it next time. Since I've made a move once, there will be a second time. I saw a little of it. Several figures swiftly flashed through his mind. It was one of them. I've discovered you. Don't try to hide it. His eyes moved, and the sun and moon appeared. It was as if he could see the starry sky of the universe. An illusory figure gradually took shape in his mind. However, his face wasn't too clear. His aura wasn't too stable. Wan Tianqing was a little angry. This won't do. That fellow is too cunning. I'll wait for your next move. Another deep breath, Wan Tianqing closed his eyes. I can afford to wait. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 724. Chapter 724, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 1. Wan Tianqing was furious and chose to go into hibernation again. As for Lord Xiaoho, he suddenly charged out from the other side of the space. At this moment, he was holding a person in his hand. It wasn't a person. It was a divine text, constantly changing between the human form and the divine text. Lord Xiaoho's hand was like a millstone, constantly crushing this divine text. The divine text and the human form kept changing, and a faint laugh came out. Xia Xiaoer, you hit it very well. Eighth layer of the sun and moon, I really couldn't tell. Lord Xiaoho, who was originally laughing, suddenly became angry. He was so angry that he could burn the sky and destroy the earth. He waved his hand to create a barrier, afraid that his name would be heard by others. You bastard, you actually dare to call my name, you're dead meat. Lord Xiaoho was furious. That's right, he was called Xia Xiaoer. His father was an unreliable name. Don't expect a person with the name of splitting the sky and countless blades to give you a good name. Therefore, outside, he was only called Lord Xiaoho. Dead? The illusory figure smiled faintly, and the figure began to shatter. I know, you want to lure me out, but who am I? There are too many invincible existences in the War God Hall and the Seeker Realm. I'm just one of them. This is just a divine text. My real body hasn't arrived yet, go and investigate. Ha ha ha. Go and investigate. Do you dare to investigate? Can you find out? You can't. It wasn't the first time they suspected that there was a traitor among the undefeatable figures of the human race. The key was that divine texts were top secret, and undefeatable figures usually rested during weekends. The experts of the War God Hall also had divine texts, so how could they investigate? Who would investigate? Do you know whose divine texts were broken and how many divine texts were sketched? The figure laughed loudly. Xiao Xia, do you know why those people didn't come? If they came, would it be useful? They would only lose trust in each other. It's better to have less trouble than more trouble. Why is there a need for that? I'm only targeting the more divine texts, not everyone. Can't I have a grudge with that fellow? He's already dead. Could it be that I, a living invincible, am inferior to a dead pseudo-invincible? Lord Xiao's expression was unsightly. That's right, this was the mentality of an invincible. It wasn't just one person, it was many people. This fellow had only done one thing in the past few years. He had conned and killed many experts of the Divine One faction. No one knew who it was, but other than dealing with many experts of the Divine One faction, he hadn't made a move. Investigate? How could he investigate? There was simply no way to investigate. Even Hong Tan could guess that an invincible had a traitor, so how could those experts not guess? However, there were too many invincible means. Unless they all opened up their seas of will and let others investigate deeply, it was impossible. No one could do it. Today, only a few divine cultural avatars had come, not the real body. Lord Xiao's face was cold as he looked at him. Don't be too arrogant. Do you really think that we can't dig you out? Just wait. My old man already has a clue. This time, you dare to enter the great Xia mansion with a divine cultural avatar. You won't be able to escape. Escape? The figure burned himself as he laughed. Why do you want to escape? Where's the evidence? Randomly capturing an invincible expert and killing him? How many invincible experts in the human realm are enough for the great Xia king to kill? Why don't you kill Lu Wenyan and I'll stop completely, how about that? F***ck off. Lord Xiao cursed angrily and gritted his teeth. Did the fifth generation leave behind something that you stole? Haha, didn't you guess it? You dog. Lord Xiao was furious. As expected. As expected, it was you. Back then, my old man said that the fifth generation had said before he died that he left something behind. It doesn't make sense. Hong Tan and the others also have no reason to hide it. As expected, it was you who did this. Lord Xiao was furious and quickly said calmly, why? You have already advanced to invincible, and the human race has treated you poorly. The 10,000 races are your father. Why did you betray the human race? Betray the human race? The burned figure smiled and said, did I betray the human race? I'm also killing enemies, I'm also protecting the human realm. I just don't get along with that guy. We have a grudge, can't I take revenge? Revenge, killing enemies in the heavenly battlefield, it's very common, isn't it? I can't betray the human race just because that guy is a genius, right? Xia Shower, don't pretend to be so selfless. Your old man once killed his own enemy in the heavenly battlefield. Can he do it, but can I not? Lord Xiao said coldly, bullshit. Even if my old man wants to kill, he will kill the members of the 10,000 races. That's right. The figure laughed and said, then, the 5 generations you mentioned, aren't they the members of the 10,000 races? The figure laughed. Xia Shower, you're too childish. Couldn't he be? Do you think that he has never cooperated with the members of the 10,000 races? You're only thinking what you think. The 5th generation, the hope of a human civilization master, is definitely a good person. Is it impossible to betray the human race? The figure laughed louder and louder. Gradually, the divine runes self-destructed, leaving behind a faint voice. Don't overestimate the so-called 5th generation. In the past, even without me, he wouldn't have been able to succeed in attaining the Tao. I'll give you one last word. Don't pursue it. There's no need. I won't take action again. I'll investigate until everyone is in a panic. Invincible won't trust each other anymore. Hee, the human realm is really finished. Bastard. Damn it. Lord Xiaohou cursed angrily. It was precisely because he had some misgivings that the Xia family knew some things and didn't dare to spread them. In the next moment, Lord Xia tore apart the barrier and roared, "Bastard, the cult master of the primitive god sect. Very good. I will wait for you to come to the great Xia mansion. I will come. Don't give me that trick." In the next moment, he roared, "Dragon martial guards, listen up. Attack. Destroy the strongholds of the myriad races cult." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 725. Chapter 725, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 2. Yes, my lord. Explosive roars sounded out as teams of dragon warrior guards attacked. Right at this moment, outside the Great Xia Manor, a blade light shone on the Great Xia Manor. Rumble. With a loud sound, a sun and moon rose up in the sky and was instantly destroyed. Countless people looked over, but the blade light was extinguished. Besides Su Yu, Zhengping said in surprise, "Manor head, who did he kill?" "He killed a sun-moon realm cultivator." Lord Xiaohou soared into the sky, and his eyes shone in all directions. In the next moment, he shouted, "The Blood Fire sect master was killed, and he deserved to die. The Myriad Clan sect is quite bold, and they really dare to fish in troubled waters." Zhengping was shocked. The Blood Fire sect master, this fellow had actually sneaked into this place. He was really unlucky. Xia Longwu, who had been in seclusion, was directly killed. Xia Longwu did not appear. Other than a flash of blade light, there was nothing else. The dragon martial guards began to attack. They quickly rushed in all directions. In the air, Lu Wenyan did not make a sound. He looked at Lord Xiaohou, who was not far away, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. He did not bother about him anymore. Suddenly, he turned his axe around and struck. Pft! Shan Tianhao was directly cut into two halves. Lord Xia raised his hand and wanted to speak but stopped. Lu Wenyan did not give him a chance. He waved his axe again and pfft. Bang! His physical body was shattered and all the divine runes were shattered. Lu Wenyan said softly, "I've been jumping for a long time. On the side of the Great Xia Manor, I still gave some face. It's fine if it's outside the Great Xia Manor. I wanted to kill the sun and the moon, but it turned out to be a fake. What a pity." As he said that, he looked at Lord Xia not far away and said with a smile, "Fatty Xia, I'll give you face. I won't kill the people of the Great Xia Manor, but outsiders, you won't let me save face, right?" As he said that, he walked through the void and chopped down with his axe. A mountain and sea expert wanted to escape, but the void was instantly shattered by the axe. With a bang, he exploded and fell. Lu Wenyan's face turned slightly pale. He walked through the void again and sighed, "It seems that there are some things that I can't delve into. It seems that it's a waste of hope to rely on your Xia family." Lord Xia said angrily, "Counting for nothing. If it weren't for the Xia family protecting you, counting on your broken Lu family to protect you. All these years, you've been in the southern Yuan, and my old man has been in the southern Yuan for 8 years. F***ck, it's fine if you don't remember our friendship, but you're still spouting nonsense." Lu Wenyan didn't respond. The surrounding mountains and seas all fled. Shan Tianhao, a 9th-level mountain and sea realm expert, had been killed by an axe, so how could they dare to stay any longer? Today's scene was too shocking for them. On the other side, Zhou Mingren frowned slightly and suddenly said, "Lu Wenyan, an arrow at the end of its flight. Do you really want to trade your life for mine?" Lu Wenyan looked at him and smiled. "Elder Zhou, if you advance to the Sun and Moon realm, I won't be able to kill you. Otherwise, if you take my axe, I don't care if you have an agreement with the Xia family or not. You want to dig up Zhang Ruoling's grave. You said it yourself. Zhou Mingren frowned. On the other side, Jin Yuhui was being suppressed by Hong Tan and was being attacked crazily. His body was already damaged, and many of the divine runes were broken. Seeing this, he shouted, Lu Wenyan, I'll take your axe. F***ck your grandpa. Hong Tan cursed angrily. You want to run? Dream on. Lu Wenyan was at the end of his rope. He had broken an eternal divine rune, and now he had killed Shan Tianhao and a mountain and sea realm warrior. How could he have the strength to kill these half-step sun and moon realm warriors? You want to escape? Hong Tan's long sword slashed down, and with a rumble, the flag in front of Jin Yuhui was completely shattered. Jin Yuhui was also going all out. In the next moment, a divine script appeared, and a sea of blood shot up into the sky. The mountains and plains were covered in blood. Hong Tan, do you really think you can beat me? Jin Yuhui roared. At the same time, many mountain and sea realm warriors rushed over. Hong Tan, are you going to start a war between the two great academies? Hong Tan cursed angrily and slashed down with his sword once more, splitting open the sea of blood. War. What does it have to do with me? Myriad Sage is the head of the academy, not me. As soon as he finished speaking, he slashed out dozens of times in succession, wiping out a large amount of the sea of blood. A divine symbol appeared once more, and it was a bit dim. After Hong Tan finished slashing, he ran off. The few mountain and sea realm experts arrived one after another. Just as they were about to chase after him, Jin Yuhui returned to normal. He pressed his hands together, looked over, and shouted, "Let's go." He didn't say anything else. Even if the main god Wen was injured, he didn't continue to pester them. He quickly led the elders of the Nine Heavens Academy and left. Retreat. In other directions, some mountains and seas also left. On Zhou Mingren's side, the elders of Sun Pavilion and the others rushed over to Zhou Mingren's side. Zhou Mingren wasn't afraid, he calmly said, "The few of you are all spent. Hong Tan still has some strength left. Lu Wenyan, do you still want to keep us?" Lu Wenyan glanced at Xia Yunqi and the others. Indeed, they were not in good condition. On the other side, there were several Shanghai realm experts. Zhou Mingren was half a step into the Sun and Moon realm. Although Hong Tan was stronger than him, dealing with Jin Yuhui had consumed a lot of energy. It would be difficult to keep him. Okay, if you can survive one strike from me, then let's call it a day. Zhou Mingren waved his hand, signaling for the others to leave. He said calmly, "You can try. You could still kill me with the first move. Now that you've used a few moves, it's not enough." Lu Wenyan was too lazy to say anything else. With a low roar, he hacked down with his axe. In the sky, a great sun appeared. Following that, waves surged into the sky, and stone pillars filled the sky. A huge mountain appeared. Boom! The stone pillars exploded, the waves were destroyed, and the huge mountain collapsed. In the end, the great sun dimmed. Zhou Mingren spat out a mouthful of blood. Without saying anything else, he turned around and left. Sun Gu and the others followed. Hong Tan was just about to give chase when his expression suddenly changed. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 726. Chapter 726, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 3. In the air, Lu Wenyan and the others fell one after another. It wasn't just one person. Xia Yunqi and the others were the same. They fell one after another with extremely serious injuries. Senior brother. I'm fine. After Lu Wenyan said that, his head tilted, and he fainted. All of this happened too quickly. Before Su Yu could see anything, everything was over. At the side, Xia Huyo rubbed his shoulder and said helplessly, "Can you let me go?" It was fine if Su Yu lay down, but he insisted on using him as a target. It was not a meat cushion, but a turtle shell. This fellow directly covered Xia Huyo on his body. No matter how fat he was not considered heavy. Su Yu could still bear it. Su Yu turned his head and said unhappily, "You're holding me down. I can't even be bothered to scold you." Xia Hu really wanted to curse. "I'm holding you down. Damn it, weren't you the one who insisted on holding me down?" Su Yu did not have the mood to pay attention to him. He frowned and said, "What exactly is going on?" He could not understand the scene in front of him either. It was all a blur. As for that fellow who had made a move in the dark, he could not see anything at all. The subsequent exchange between the other party and Master Xiaoho had also been covered up by Master Xiaoho. The only thing he heard seemed to be a sentence, "Xia-er." Who was it? Master Xiaoho. Su Yu hurriedly got up. At this moment, he did not dare to go to the battle zone. Even if he saw Lu Wenyan fall to the ground, the energy was flowing freely there, and his willpower was boiling. He would not go over. He would die. At this moment, his sea of willpower was swelling painfully. The 6 divine inscriptions were crazily absorbing the remnants of the divine inscriptions. The small hammer was also crazily absorbing, crazily hammering at the sea of willpower. Su Yu also decided to use the water element technique to absorb the willpower. At the side, Xia Huyo was also doing it. Quite a number of people were doing it, including the old ghost Qingping, who was also opening his divine aperture to absorb willpower. On the other hand, Su Yu's side was rather inconspicuous. Qingping and Xia Hu especially noticed it, but they did not have the time to pay attention to him. This fellow really had a literary technique. Qingping said with some regret, "What a pity. My Yunhui didn't come and shattered the eternal divine script. It's rare to see it in 100 years. What a pity." At this moment, the lingering charm dissipated very quickly. If he went to fetch his grandson, it would be too late to absorb it. It was better for him to absorb more. As a warrior, it wasn't easy for him to cultivate the divine aperture. As he spoke, Su Yu didn't mind. He was still a little muddle-headed. Grandpa Zheng, was the person who made a move later killed? No. Qingping was just a bystander today. He did not interfere and was idle. He smiled and said, "He ran away. The religious leader of the primitive god sect. No wonder he is so powerful. I did not come. It was the divine cultural avatar. The religious leader of the primitive god sect. Yes, the strongest religious leader of the myriad clan. He is at the peak of the sun and moon realm. This guy worships the primitive god sect and is their loyal lackey. He has been to the deity world and received the transformation of the divine body of the primitive god sect. He can be considered a demigod." Qingping continued, "It seems like Lord Xiaoho and the others are trying to seduce this fellow. It's a pity that they didn't succeed. However, that fellow doesn't feel good either. It seems like he has broken 3 eternal divine runes. His strength will definitely be greatly reduced. The sect master of the primordial divine race." Su Yu was suspicious. Was that so? Wasn't he invincible? Wasn't he the invincible expert that Uncle Master had mentioned before, the one who might have stolen the information of the 5th generation? Then the saber light from before. It was the Mansion Master who killed the sect master of the Blood Fire sect. It's normal. The sect master of the primitive god sect came with the divine cultural avatar. The divine cultural avatar can't travel alone. It must have attached itself to him. I don't know if he brought it with him or if the sect master of the primitive god sect secretly attached it to him. It implicated him. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to find a sun and moon hiding their tracks. Zheng Ping was also at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. He had seen a lot, so he had explained a lot of things to Su Yu and the others. So, the one who attacked was really an expert of the primitive god sect. Su Yu was still thinking about this, but Xia Huyo pulled him and quickly ran into the distance. What's wrong? Su Yu wanted to go and see Lu Wenyan. Grandmaster was also there. Quick! Xia Huyo hurriedly said, are you stupid? Go outside the city. A sun and moon was killed. The Yuan Qi dispersed and the divine runes exploded. Inhale. Yuan Qi and willpower have returned to the world. Go and cultivate. I'm rich. Manor head Xia hacked him to death with a saber strike. His body was shattered and some of it was shattered. The things are gone, but his willpower and Yuan Qi are still there. That place is even stronger than the mystic realm now. Su Yu's eyes lit up as he immediately gave him a thumbs up. That's right. It made sense. And at that moment, Zheng Ping had also thought of this. He suddenly turned around and ran towards the Institute of Civilization. My grandson. That's right. Hurry up and bring my grandson over to cultivate. Killing a sun and moon to cultivate, are you convinced? As for this side, that was fine. The lingering charm had been stirred by the mountains and seas, the sun and moon, and dispersed. There was no such thing over there. If a sun and moon were killed, there was definitely some time left. Not far away, Hong Tan was treating Lu Wenyan's injuries as he said, the one who ran away just now, is he my grand disciple? At this moment, the corner of Wu Yuehua's mouth was also stained with blood. She couldn't be bothered with him and shouted into the distance, Cheer, go back and pick up your sister. Go over there and cultivate. You should be able to last until tomorrow morning. Hurry up. Wu Qi didn't say anything else. She stepped on air and ran towards the academy. After Wu Qi left, Wu Yuehua said, it's your grand disciple. What's wrong? Don't you know him? Nonsense. Hong Tan couldn't be bothered with her. How could she know him? How could she know him? Then, she looked at Lu Wenyan, he had a headache. His injuries were very serious. This wasn't important. What was important was that senior brother, was it inappropriate to pretend to be unconscious? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 727. Chapter 727, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 4. Wake up. Senior brother, wake up. Hong Tan pinched him. Lu Wenyan coughed up blood and was not awake. Wu Yuehua raised her leg to kick Hong Tan and said angrily, what are you doing? On the side, Hu Ping and Zhao Mingyue, who were still barely awake, also glared at Hong Tan. Hong Tan's face was dark. Senior brother pretended to be unconscious, are you blind? If I don't wake you up, what should I do next? I've been on the road for many days, and when I came back, it was a big battle. Did you think it was easy to fight with two half-step sun and moon cultivators? And you all attacked me one by one. I don't care, believe it or not. Hong Tan cursed in his heart, but there was a smile on his face. He originally looked like a young man, but he quickly aged. Gradually, an old man like Hong Tan appeared again. They all looked at him with disdain. Pretending to be old, pretending to be weak. The peak of the mountain and sea realm, half-step sun and moon, pretending to be a dying man. A half-step sun and moon who was not even 70 years old, was he very old? He was still young. He was very young. Hong Tan, who was pretending to be asleep, had no choice. He looked around and said, Senior brother, it's not appropriate to kill Shan Tianhao just like that, is it? Zhou Pelong's watchdog was killed right away. I'm afraid it'll cause big trouble. Coward. Coward. Trash. The three women cursed at the same time. Hong Tan was so aggrieved. If you weren't my eldest sister-in-law and second sister-in-law, I would strangle you one by one. Xia Yinqi laughed at the side. He was used to it. 50 years ago, Hong Tan had always been a bullied underling. Although Hong Tan was the strongest now, after decades, everyone gathered together and relived this scene. It made him feel very warm. If that guy didn't pretend to be dead, it would be more interesting. Xia Yinqi coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He smiled and said, "So what if we kill him? It's fine." Today, Wen Yan had unleashed his sun and moon battle prowess, so those people would more or less have some misgivings. It was also good for them to show off their might once and fight for some status and living space for the multi-god literature faction. Otherwise, the others would really think that we're all dead. As he said this, Xia Yinqi coughed again and said with a pale face, "But you have to be careful. Be careful of being secretly ambushed and killed." "That fellow just now, is that the beast from back then?" "Definitely." Hong Tan nodded and said in a deep voice, "Fatty Xia only knows how to make peace." "What primitive god sect master?" "If I were the sect master of the primitive god sect, I would directly dig up the Xia family's grave and blame everyone else for everything." As he was speaking, Lord Xia Ho landed on the ground. With a dark face, he said unhappily, "Then what should I say? So you guys know what to do, right? You also know that Invincible is watching you guys, right? My Xia family is so untrustworthy that even Yinqi is unwilling to speak." Xia Yinqi smiled and said, "Waiter. You want to spar with me?" Xia Ho's face turned dark. "Ahem, second brother, right? Is that right?" Xia Ho was 2 years older than him. When he was young, he was used to calling the waiter, so Xia Yinqi changed his way of addressing him. He smiled and said, "It's not that I don't trust you, nor do I not trust uncle. I guess many people have some doubts about this matter and have some idea, but there's no way to solve it." Xia Yinqi was also helpless. "How do we solve it?" "Investigate them one by one. We won't be able to find out. The other party only attacked once 50 years ago and hasn't attacked again. At that time, it just so happened that Invincible was moving. Some were in closed-door cultivation, some were in the heavenly battlefield, and some were even moving in other small worlds. How do we investigate this?" He said that he has a grudge against the 5th generation. When Xia Yinqi heard this, he could not help but smile bitterly. "Don't you know the character of the 5th generation? His enemies are all over the world. Other than the many divine texts, there are a few in the divine texts alone. He has too many enemies. There are few invincible." "Yes, there aren't many invincible." "Do you know if it's true?" Xia Yinqi still shook his head. "If we really want to talk about the great grudge of killing him, there really isn't. Who knows if it's a cover? Right, is there no clue at all this time?" Lord Xia Ho shook his head. "Then why did you force Wen Yan out?" Lord Xia Ho frowned and said, "What do you mean I forced him out? I have no mood to pay attention to him at all. I wasn't the one who instigated the digging of the grave. I was just pushing it along the way. There's an 80 to 90% chance that it was that guy, Wan Tianxing, who did it." Xia Yinqi also frowned and said, "Wan Tianxing? What does he want to do? Even if that guy really appears at this time, can you guys deal with him? Is Uncle in the residence?" If Uncle, who was also the Emperor of Great Xia, was not in the residence, even if the other party really stood out, it would be useless. It would be impossible to capture an invincible person. "No, Long Wu is here, so he is confident." Lord Xia Ho explained, then he said, "The old man is watching some people and excluding some people. In the past few years, he had already eliminated a lot of people, so he could not investigate them openly. It would not be a problem to investigate them secretly. The old man has been suffering from dementia for the past few years. He likes to drag people to fight with him whenever he has nothing to do. During a fight, other people can't distinguish the divine cultural avatar, right? The old man's eyesight is still good. After saying that, he continued, and I actually guessed that the other party wouldn't be so careless. Even if they really want to come, there's an 80% to 90% chance that they're divine cultural avatars. After saying that, he sighed and said, they're really willing to part with a total of 3 divine runes. They're all eternal divine runes. This loss is enough to make him suffer. Wu Yuehua suddenly said angrily, since you're not confident, why did you set this up? Do you want to kill him? Xia Houyi rolled his eyes, muttering, only women. What? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 728. Chapter 728, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 5. I already said that it wasn't me. I was just taking advantage of the situation. Moreover, if Lu Wenyan doesn't appear again and reveal himself, the other party might secretly go to the southern Yuan. Recently, the old master's time to return has also decreased. We can't keep an eye on him. Even if we alert the enemy, we have to make him restrain himself a little. Otherwise, will Lu Wenyan continue to hide? In the past few decades, the great Xia emperor had returned from time to time. Moreover, the Lu family had been strong and prosperous back then, so they could also send someone to take care of it. Now, the great Xia emperor did not have much time to return. Even if they had to alert the enemy and make him restrain himself, it was also a good thing to prevent Lu Wenyan from being silently killed in the southern Yuan. As he spoke, Lord Xia said faintly, there is definitely something wrong with Lu Wenyan's divine text. Otherwise, the other party would not have been staring at him and even wanted to kill him. The information that the other party had taken back then might not have been too complete. Perhaps it had involved this divine text, which was why the other party had taken the risk and attacked again this time to see if they could take away the divine text. The few of them didn't make a sound. This was true. The information that the other party had taken away was most likely incomplete. Perhaps it needed the divine text's cooperation, which was why that fellow had been keeping an eye on Lu Wenyan and had been secretly adding fuel to the fire all these years. Wu Yuehua thought for a moment and said, I don't care about that fellow. What exactly is Zhou Polong trying to do? Don't ask me. Lord Xia Ho said innocently, I'm not familiar with him. This fellow. In any case, you guys have to be careful. He either wants to fish out that beast from earlier, or he really wants to exterminate all of you. In any case, it doesn't matter to him. All of you aren't good people either. You tricked his father to death. You. Wu Yuehua flew into a rage, and Hong Tan also said speechlessly, does it have anything to do with us? Lord Xia Ho shrugged, he said indifferently, it has nothing to do with me. I'll be honest, I can roughly guess Zhou Polong's motive. If Lu Wenyan doesn't give him the divine runes, he won't stop. He may not want the divine runes to become invincible, but whoever has the divine runes, that fellow from before will probably go look for them. On the side of the great Zhou manor, he could indeed guess Zhou Polong's motive. His motive was indeed this divine inscription. Whether it was for his advancement or for fishing, this divine inscription was extremely crucial. The hidden invincible also needed this divine inscription. Everything that had happened today proved this point. As such, if Zhou Polong couldn't find that fellow, he would definitely come and ask for this divine inscription again. If he couldn't get it, then he might as well snatch it. In any case, he wanted to snatch it, and it was somewhat justified. Hong Tan said helplessly, troublesome. That bastard Zhou Polong, we have already said that without the information, the divine text can't appear, and he insisted on finding fault with us. Now that my strength has been exposed, this fellow might think that I am deliberately deceiving him. Could it be that there isn't? Lord Xiaoho said with a smile, you guys have many secrets with the divine text lineage. You have the blood essence of your talent, the fusion of divine texts, and the splitting of battle techniques. What splitting? Hong Tan said unhappily, what I sketched back then was a battle technique. Two battle techniques matched each other. What the hell are you talking about? He thought Lord Xiaoho was talking about him. Wu Yuehua and the others looked at him strangely, as if he was still pretending. Hong Tan said in surprise, what? I'm serious. I have a sword and a shield to begin with. What about Bai Feng? What about Bai Feng? Isn't that rascal just a sword? Is that so? The few of them laughed. He Chi even cursed in a low voice, stop pretending. Enough. Bai Feng still has one sword. 4 of the dragon-slaying swords have already appeared, but a few have been crippled. As he spoke, he said worriedly, will anything happen to Bai Feng? Director Ji took him away. Wait. Hong Tan said in shock, what 4 swords? What crippled several swords? What? Director Ji took him away. The few of them looked at him again. You really don't know, or are you just pretending? Acting like this is too much. Even his own people are being deceived. Split. Hong Tan suddenly thought of something and said in surprise, he broke the dragon-slaying sword. Yes. F***ck. Hong Tan turned pale with fright. This kid is fooling around. Isn't he afraid that he'll kill himself? Is he dead? No, he's seriously injured. The divine runes were scrapped and taken away by Director Ji. As they spoke, they were a little dejected. They didn't know if they could recover. Hong Tan couldn't care less about his senior anymore. He picked up his senior and thought for a moment before throwing him into Wu Yuehua's hands. He hurriedly flew up and ran away. Help me take care of my senior. I'll go take a look first. With a whoosh, he ran away. Lu Wenyan narrowed his eyes and cursed in his heart. In the next moment, he suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. Then, he immediately coughed up blood and said, Yinchi, I need to heal my injuries. Build a house and let me rest for a while. Xia Yinchi looked at him and was speechless. Build a house for what? You can heal your injuries. Lu Wenyan glared at him. Should I build a house or not? Hurry up. If he didn't build a house, his 6 eyes would glare at him. He didn't want to open his eyes. All right. He Chi, go build a house. He Chi ran to build a house. Lu Wenyan coughed up blood. The next moment, he fainted again. If he didn't build a house, he wouldn't wake up. Wu Yuehua and the others glared at him. They were too lazy to say anything else. Lord Xiaoho ate his melon and watched the commotion for a while. He smiled and said, the few of you, it's best for you to stay in the Great Xia Manor and not run around. It's best for you to go into seclusion. Otherwise, this matter will not be easy to resolve. Also, with your half-baked fusion, it will be embarrassing for you to come out. It's better to stabilize it properly. As he said that, he ate his melon and threw the melon rind randomly. He said casually, remember to return the money. Remember to compensate for how many things you broke tonight. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 729. Chapter 729, Chapter 185 Fishing in Troubled Waters 6. Also, Lu Wenyan, you've killed 2 mountains and seas. Don't play dead. Later on, you'll have to kill 20 of them to make up for it. Otherwise, you'll have to stay in the Vanguard Battalion for the rest of your life. Actually, it's good that you've killed them. When you go to the Vanguard Battalion, Invincible will be watching over there. It's actually safer. While you're at it, bring Bai Feng along. That kid will definitely be targeted. The heavens battlefield is the safest. Invincible is watching over there. The great Qin King is in charge over there, so ordinary people don't dare to cause trouble. Invincible doesn't dare to do anything. Right now, the heavens battlefield was the safest place. As Lord Xia spoke, no one else said anything. Lord Xia continued, the Zhou family will definitely find fault with you. It's not good to stay behind. To be honest, no one has the mood to watch over you and take care of you all day long. Yun Qi, you have also killed a Shanghai realm warrior. You have killed 3 Shanghai realm warriors. If you are not sent to the heavens battlefield, the Xia family will not be able to explain. Xia Yunqi nodded, I know. When our injuries are better, Wen Yan and I will leave. He then said, Hong Tan, stay. Otherwise, if you leave, your roots will be gone. At least there are still a few people left. Chen Yong student, and Su Yu are all in the academy. No one can take care of them. As you wish. Master Xia Ho did not mind. At this moment, he had already walked far away. Suddenly, he turned around and said, that. I'll tell you guys something. Su Yu might be Lu Wenyan's illegitimate child. You guys probably don't know about it. As he said that, he ran away. Lu Wenyan suddenly opened his eyes and cursed angrily, F***ck your ancestors. I'll tell my grandfather. Master Xia Ho ran quickly and laughed loudly. You're dead meat. Ft. Lu Wenyan was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He really fainted this time. Wu Yuehua and the others looked at each other. The next moment, Wu Yuehua slapped his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Lu Wenyan woke up. Your son. Lu Wenyan pretended to be dead. Nonsense, no. But, how can I explain? It really isn't. Wu Yuehua said coldly, no wonder Su Yu hasn't entered the school and hasn't contacted me for decades. He suddenly called me and asked me to take care of him. This is the second time in decades that he has called me and begged me. Lu Wenyan felt aggrieved. It really isn't. Forget it, a woman is unreasonable and unreasonable. Even if he didn't explain himself, she wouldn't listen to him. At the side, He Chi had finished building the house. When he heard this, he said in surprise, is he Brother Lu's son? Then it's understandable. No wonder his talent is amazing. A tiger father doesn't have a dog son. As I said before, he looks like the younger brother Lu. Lu Wenyan only wanted to open his eyes, take out his axe, and chop him to death with it. You're still adding to the chaos. Fan the flames, you bastard, you're really good. The few mountains and seas around them all laughed. Wu Yuehua suddenly said, Old Su didn't come this time, who knows what's going on. Manor Head Su. The vice manor head of the Great Xia Institute of Civilization was also on their side before this. But this time, he didn't come. He Chi sighed, don't ask, let him be. Xia Yuan wanted to fight for the manor head position. Xia Chongqing had looked for him before, saying that he wanted Xia Yuan to marry Su Meng. Xia Chongqing's thoughts were good. Xia Yuan first married Su Meng, then married that little girl from the Ji family. This way, one peak of the mountains and seas and one sun and moon would be roped in. Adding on to himself, there really is some hope. Humph. Wu Yuehua snorted coldly. You wish. You even had designs on my cheer before. Look at your own morals. No one mentioned Manor Head Su anymore. He Chi teased, Yuehua, Bai Feng is pretty good. My cheer doesn't fancy him. Wu Yuehua looked proud and said, and he's too weak. After defeating Xia Yuan, he's not weak. Who knows what will happen in the future? He might be crippled. Wu Yuehua said irresponsibly and quickly said, "It's okay to marry Su Yu. He has talent and tenacity." The few of them looked at her. Was she serious? Did you hear that Su Yu might be someone's illegitimate child, so you came up with this bad idea? It was really bad. If that was really the case, then Su Yu's seniority was even higher than Wuqi's. It was really messy. Lu Wenyan felt that it was better for him to continue playing dead. You can't get involved in these things. You can say whatever you want. On the other hand, that kid Su Yu actually came this time. It was a little out of his expectations. He was really brave. Of course, he was also very loyal. Unfortunately, he would soon have to go to the heavenly battlefield to avoid trouble. Otherwise, he could still take care of him.